Hello everyone, I am Tacit and welcome to the Brighter Shores live stream day, what is it now, 19? We are getting close to the 1 month mark. It definitely will take us a little bit over 1 month, it looks like, by the end of it all, but today, of course, main goal of today is to go get to Milestone 8. There's only 4 levels, so should be pretty straightforward to go do, but that's pretty much the game plan. Go until we get Milestone 8. Maybe we'll go a little bit longer, but bare minimum, we're going for 8. Meaning tomorrow will be a lot of the beginning cycle of 8, where we're also going to be getting a lot more than normal pondweed and the bell plant. Because, well, for one, we have to anyways at the beginning. But this makes the current best enrage potion in the game, as the 9-minute one, which is what this one is slightly better than the 10-minute one due to the 10-minute ground timer when, you know, AFK in combat and everything. So unless they change that in the future, yeah, it's pretty much the best one we could end up getting. So we will end up utilizing that a little bit more. These look like they're almost ready, but nope, they still got 3 hours. We'll grab them before the end of the stream, if nothing else, because our gameplay loop should only take us about 4 hours to get to where we need to go. Maybe a little bit longer if we go to Bone Zone. I'm not sure if that would actually be quicker or shorter than the route that we're doing now. But if nothing else, at least for the first level, we got to do the route that we were doing yesterday. And then, once we get to level 47 and 1 more level, we would be able to go and switch it up to the Bone Zone. Which I don't even think I've gotten a Shark Jaw yet at that tier. Which means I have 0 banks, because you can even buy them from shops. So, I mean, I'll end up getting that when we go to the Bone Zone then. As we end up just completely skipping over it when we end up doing, like, Nettle Route, because this wasn't worth running. Which is likely going to be the case on every single set until we get all the way to the end. But anyways, hello everyone, hello Isabel, hello everyone else, welcome. Hope all you guys been having a wonderful time. Good afternoon. But yeah, I finally got the tickets for, I forget if I mentioned on a Brighter Shore stream yet, but I finally got the tickets for the trip. That all got sorted yesterday after a bunch of errands and everything. And yeah, I'm pretty much good to go. There's some dental stuff I still need to get done beforehand. There's something that popped up that I kind of want to get handled, which I might actually need to get another tooth removed for. It's kind of insane. But they kind of misdiagnosed something, so I want to just make sure it's fixed before, you know, before the trip. As it's some kind of thing that, if it goes unchecked, would not be good, so gonna get that done soonish, hopefully. But, hoping that I can get all that done by April, because that'd be unfortunate if some of it's, like, not finished by, you know, the time of the trip in, late May. But it should be, hopefully, fingers crossed. Worst comes to worst, there are dentists there if I truly had to, like, you know, get something done real quick, but, it would have to be in euros, so I'm not sure if that would end up costing more or less. Given that I'm spending out of pocket, honestly, it probably would be less. But I'm trying to get it all done before I go, though. So there's not any persisting issues or anything. Happy for the vacation? Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be the first time I've ever been overseas. Though, of course, with the new war that's starting like every month, hopefully it won't end up affecting anything there. I think that one waterway next to it might be affected a little bit, but as far as, you know, the airways, it should be fine. It's also very unlikely any country would be really attacking Greece. Maybe American bases in Greece. As far as Greece itself is very unlikely. Well, we'll see how many wars are started by the time the trip gets around. So far, we have 1 per day since I've got the flight. We'll see exactly how many it is by the time I get there. My guess is 3. Though currently it's 1 per day, so they're doing it pretty rapidly. Though it's only been 1 day. You haven't been keeping up with all the news? Yeah, America ended up going to war with Iran, with Israel. The ramifications for that are still uncertain at the moment. But, it definitely destabilized the area. Like, Greece isn't, like, that close to that area. It mostly affects one of the waterways that they have, though. As well as, the economy of some of the areas, or, you know, some of the countries in that area. As far as flying in and being safe in that country, it should be fine. Their economy might get hit a little, though. That shouldn't really affect most tourism things other than maybe some prices being a bit higher. But yeah, as far as Brighter Shores today, it's pretty much the game plan. Get one level, head to the Bone Zone, and probably spend the rest of the time in the Bone Zone. Do a loop that we did yesterday until we get our one level, and then Bone Zone it up the whole time. Just to get some amount of Tier 7 bones going. Also, one nice thing about this loop that we didn't quite have last time, because we were going for Jade Shard Rush at that point, we did not have access to the higher level Jades. So we're actually getting even more EXP than we were before, though of course we also need more EXP than we needed before. But, yeah, we got the Jade upgrade since we last did this loop. I was also messing around with trying to do, like, a weird triple weave through this. Where you, like, double respawn them and everything. But it makes your inventory really weird, so I wasn't bothering to route it. There is some kind of triple weave that would be really cool through this area, though. But my brain, cannot comprehend how to route it properly. As it puts the timer at a really interesting amount where you can, like, double take the resources twice over. So you don't have to move as much. The problem is that... Oh, I didn't mean to double that. That's fine, I guess. But the problem with that is it puts the total number of items in your inventory at a really, really weird number that doesn't quite work. Unless you're doing drop method. Like drop only, like literally dropping everything and banking nothing. Which at this high of a tier I can't really be doing because every resource is so important. Yeah, with the dentist thing, I was trying to look up what it was, and it seems to be something that gets misdiagnosed a lot. But it's like some kind of abscess, or some other term was used for it too. That might describe it a little bit more aptly. Like a nasal something, but it's tooth related, which is kind of confusing on its naming. It had like 2 names. But that seems to be what I have. It's almost like a little bump that keeps appearing over a tooth. And, yeah, the tooth might need to get extracted that's related to it. And even after that, might still need to get something done to it just to make sure the gums heal before it, like, mega spreads or anything. It's actually been there for a little while now, like, over a year. However, some of the treatment I got in the past I thought would just fix it, but it hasn't yet. So at this point, I might need to get the tooth removed that's, like, right near it. And if that doesn't work, then, yeah, I might just have to go to a different dentist entirely to see if I can get something done. Honestly... If that doesn't fix it, I might literally just go somewhere in Greece and see what they have to say about it. Because I have such low confidence in the American healthcare system in any regard. Because I've had so many different problems at so many different dentists. Ones in New Jersey weren't that bad, though. But as far as, like, in this area, I have not had, like, any luck with any of them. And whenever I look for alternatives, they're, like, even worse reviewed than the one I'm going to. So it's like, I'm already at, like, the better one, and it's horrible. So if it still persists by the time to trip, honestly, I might literally just try to find a dentist in Greece. And just, pay whatever the, difference is. Because I double-checked, with my bank when I was out the other day, yesterday. It was one of the things I was doing. I was, you know, just doing a bunch of errands and everything. But, if I was to use my card in Greece... It should only be the only cost associated to it should be 3%. Obviously, the transfer fee of, you know, actually making USD into Euro, whatever it is at the time. But beyond that, it should only be 3%. So it's not that bad. It's still better to bulk buy it at once, like we did for the 1,000. But, you know, if I had to spend like a couple hundred extra at 3%, you know, extra cost, it wouldn't really be that big a deal. I think it would only start being more expensive if I did, like, over 400 or something. So that's pretty much going to be my game plan. Try to get all the more important dental stuff done now. If there's still any problems, I might literally just go to a dentist in Greece somewhere. See if we're going to find a somewhat half-decent one. Whatever the cost is the cost. But realistically, it should be cheaper than America. The only thing that might not make it cheaper is the whole euro conversion thing. It's been an issue for a while now, and this dentist area has been, like, so bad. Like, every dentist in this area I've had a problem with. Even back, like, 15 years ago when I went to a completely different dentist in this area, I ended up having problems there. Like, I've been to, like, 4 different dentists in this area, and every single one has had a different problem. It's actually insane. Like, I have yet to be in go to a dentist in this state where I have not proceeded to have a problem from something they did. I've literally have gone to 4 different ones, and I've never not had a problem. Oh, we gotta go drink the 11%. Good thing I noticed. We're actually, like, right at the bar right now. Alright, let me go right over here. Put that in. No, don't pop up now. No! Alright, that's fine, though. Wait, that reminds me. I need to go make more potions soon. I didn't have time to do that earlier, and I really need to. Like, we'll have enough for today, but I don't think we have enough for tomorrow. We're gonna run out very, very, very soon. Yeah, the main thing that made me look into it a little bit more is, the more I was looking into it, the thing that I actually have right now can technically be lethal if untreated for too long. And at this point, it's pretty much gone like 2 years undiagnosed properly. Luckily, it still seems to be in a very early stage. So it likely hasn't done too much damage yet. But it can literally be lethal if untreated for a long period of time, because you can start to infect the bloodstream. But any blood testing have gotten in recent times have all been fine, so it hasn't done that yet. If nothing else. Is this one of the reasons why it keeps not coming up either? Is it's in like it's been like perpetually in a very early state. And hasn't actually ever gotten worse, but it's in such an early state that's like very undetectable, but still kind of noticeable. Since I'm living with it like, you know, every day. But like every diagnosis of it keeps not picking up on it. There's one of the things that seems so bad about the American healthcare system. I'm not sure if that's like a global issue. But I think just getting undiagnosed or, you know, incorrectly diagnosed. Because I've had both of them multiple times now. Or something either doesn't get diagnosed that's problematic, or it gets misdiagnosed as something that isn't, and then, you know, it's, you know, still festering as something is trying to be fixed that isn't actually the problem. I've had both issues multiple times, not just with teeth, but with, you know, like everything. Most recently with teeth. And obviously that applies to like nearly everything though. Not sure if it's like a uniquely American issue, or is that like a global issue of just doctors not picking up on the right thing. Because one of them recently too was just an AI model doing it wrong. Because of course they were starting to use AI, and what they used misdiagnosed some stuff with the teeth. Which is also going to be a reoccurring issue in coming up soon. As AI gets more heavily implemented. Because I've already been affected by AI, you know, being incorrect. Probably a bit of both, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit everywhere. But I feel like America probably has it a little bit worse. Like, our healthcare cost to healthcare results is like the absolute worst ratio in the entire world. And not all of that is because of cost. There's some level of incompetence that's also making that higher. Though the cost is also inflating that quite a bit, though. We have, like, the worst cost to health outcome ratio in the entire world. I don't think there's a single country that has worse. Anywheres. Like, there might be countries with less, like, worse cure overall. But there's no country that has a worse, like, cure ratio to cost ratio. When accounting for both. It's one thing I always wonder with, like, future generations as well. It's like, how are we even going to fill, like, every role that needs to be filled in society? Is I feel like there's so many important jobs that just don't pay enough or similar. Like, one field I was actually considering going in was, various psychology. You know, like therapist, stuff like that. You know, anything kind of in that field. But the amount of degrees and the amount of money you have to spend for how little you make. Not that they make, like, nothing. But the cost to be certified for doing such. And all the liability that you have just for, you know, doing the job in general. Combined with how minuscule the pay is. Like, most of it's not even over 80k a year. Normally even lower than that. Like 60k-ish. You know, mental health stuff is, like, pretty important. And most people go, like, undiagnosed with so much stuff related to that. Because they can't afford it and everything. But also the people administrating it is, like, making almost nothing. At least relative to, you know, how much you have to spend to even get certified for such things. Because how much it is to get certified and just all the stresses of work and everything. It feels like it should be, like, over 100k a year, yet most, if not all, jobs in that sector are under that. If not way under that. Yeah, of course third world countries would have it bad in almost every aspect. But I mean more so for developed countries. Like, obviously, as of today, Iran's not doing too well. Yeah, all that was still developing, though. Later tonight, I'll just go look up a bunch of stuff with it. As within the next, like, 12 hours, like, 100 different things are gonna happen. You're so glad for life in video games because reality issues are such a downer. I know, right? Yeah, it's one of the reasons I just kind of want to fix all my health stuff. Get all that sorted. Because honestly, you only really need like 2 things in life. Or 3 things. Not have debt. Have all the bare necessities to not die. And health. Like, if you have those 3 things, you're basically like perfect. You have like the perfect life. If you have enough supplies to not die, your health, and just no, like, debt or over-looming, like, pressure to constantly keep making more money and just keep going, like, infinitely negative. Like, you pretty much have a perfect life if you have, like, those 3 things. Everything beyond that, just extra. Yeah, we're halfway through this one. Then we'll head over to the other area for what I assume is the rest of the stream. We haven't done the math on how long it'll take, but if I had to guess, probably 3.5 more hours. We seem to pretty consistently be at 1 an hour. Though I do have to say, this grind is taking a little bit longer than anticipated just because of how much slower the higher level ranges get. I knew they would, but I didn't, like, fully fathom the exact amount that they would. But once we get it done over the next few weeks, it'll be done forever, so... If it takes, like, a whole extra week, it's not that big a deal. Plus, Late Aspire 2 coming out next week's Thursday will set it back a little bit. But not that much. Like, that'll set us back, like, oh, I guess a few days, technically, since I'm doing it for a few days. But we're passiving that whole time, so we'll be getting a ton of value, so it should be even out to be fine. Oh yeah, that reminds me, what day is Paralives coming out? I didn't bother checking that with my trip. Let me go double check real quick. I'm really hoping that we can play that one cozy game before we go. It's been a game I've been looking forward to for so long. I didn't bother aligning its current release date with the trip just because they've delayed it like so many times. So even this current release date, I'm not even sure they're going to release, but Paralives, please tell me it's before May 24th. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. That's funny. Well, that's unfortunate. I guess we'll do it when we come back. Oh, that is really funny. My trip, I'm leaving on May 24th. The game is releasing on May 25th. Literally the day I arrive in Greece is the day the game is releasing. That is so funny. That is really funny. Well, I guess we're not doing that before the trip. That's not too big a deal. Plus, they might delay it for like the 5th time or something. Though I do think they actually are releasing this time. That is really funny, though. Literally the day, like the second I get into Greece is the second the game is releasing, pretty much. That's funny. But we'll definitely have to try it after, I guess. We'll be a little late to the party, but we'll definitely try it after. Might be one of the streams we do within like the first week when we come back. Not the very first, but, you know, one of. Because I've been keeping an eye on that game for, like, several years now, and they're finally doing it. It's basically a bunch of people who wanted to make, like, the perfect Sims without DLC or anything else. Basically take everything good from Sims 1, 2, and 3, and 4, combine it with every feature that Sims has never implemented that people have been wanting from a Sims game, and then just releasing that. It's probably going to release in a little bit of a rough state, so if nothing else, the only slightly good thing about coming to the party like a few months late is hopefully they fixed a lot of the bugs by then. As it is releasing in beta and is going to be in a pretty developmental state. But, you know, it's going to be built up with the community and everything else over time. But hopefully by then they'll get all like the major bugs and everything out by then. As they'll have like a solid 3 months to fix all that. So at least once we come back, the game should be pretty stable. Shouldn't have any, like, launch issues by then. But it's basically going to be The Sims, but with no monetization. You just pay once and you have it forever. No DLC, no nothing like that. We'll keep getting free content into the future. We'll likely have some kind of modding scene on the thing because of the Steam Workshop. But it's basically a pay-once Sims. No, like, infinite 1,000 plus DLC chain. While also not addressing many of the issues. We're definitely going to be checking it out when we come back. But yeah, speaking of the no debt thing, I guess that is one thing I still have. Even though it's not technically in my name at the moment. I would say technically the only debt I have, though I guess it's more so in proxy to the debt, because it's not technically in my name at the moment, is the current house I'm living in is not paid off yet. But it's mostly paid off. I think it's like 60,000 more. Like, I almost have that in the bank right now. It's mostly my emergency medical fund, so I can't just dump that all to try to pay down the principal on it. But I will eventually just be giving it all to my mom to go do that. Once my health is like all sorted in every possible metric for a while. Because right now that's my backup emergency medical fund as well. It's currently in some form of investment though. Just so it's making, you know, more than nothing. But not in like something long term that I can't touch it. So I can still use it if I have to. It means it's making a little bit less, but you know, I can still use it if I need like a 30,000 medical expense or something. But aside from that, that's technically the only debt I have. There's like 60-ish thousand that still needs to be paid off on this house. It's not in my name, but I would want to help my mom eventually pay it off. It's just doing so would consume my entire savings. But it'd probably be worth it just to make sure the, you know, that wouldn't keep costing money. I forget what the percent is on it, but it's like very, like it's not like absurdly high. It's not like loan shark high. But the money I have just currently making interest is definitely less interest than the amount that loan is costing. So it just makes sense to dump all that money towards it eventually. And in about a few years, I would probably have enough money combined with whatever she has to go and fully pay it off. Assuming she can still work the whole time. Or if she gets any reimbursement for when she got injured from work the other year. Because either of those two things would be able to pay it off. One thing I'm always concerned with in this area, though, is hurricanes. Because this is an area where, like, any year a hurricane could just, like, wipe out the house. And then, of course, all the value of the house. And this place is too high risk to even have, like, proper insurance. So if this place got wiped, like, I think we get compensated, like, few tens of thousands. But it would be, like, 1/10 the value of what the house even is. Or something like that. Like, it'd be such a small compensation for how much the damage would be. Like, if a hurricane hit this area, where it would literally just be like selling the property with no house on it. Would basically be the equivalence of that. Yep, no, don't talk to him. Do it to the thing. There we go. I'm not sure why. I feel like I've gone so long without accidentally talking to that NPC near the bank. Yet lately, I've been hitting him like every hour. We were doing so good for so long, never accidentally doing that. But lately, we have such a bad track record. He's like always exactly where my mouse wants to click. And unfortunately, there's no like menu entry swap or anything like that in this game at the moment, so I can't like make it so we would never click on him. Maybe a feature they'll eventually add. That's probably pretty low priority on their list. I gotta remember to drink at 11% here. Then we should be good to go. I said hello to Drew. Welcome, welcome. Hope all's been well. I was gonna say, why's my inventory so weird? It's because I forgot to do the thing. There we go. I was gonna say, how are we so over encumbered? It's because I forgot to drop the jade. It's always the jade. It's the only thing we can't bank here. I'm grabbing it for the XP, but it's not capable of being banked. We're grabbing it purely for the XP and knowledge it gives. And of course, we already finished jade yesterday, so we don't even need them for that. Alright, there we go. Put that in the forger. Oh, we clicked it in time for once, but it was still too late. Alright, fine. We'll do it on that shell, like always. As long as we make it in within the 11%, we should be fine. We got it. Alright, 1/4 level to go, and then we head over to the bone zone for what should be the rest of the time. I assume the bone zone is enough to get 1 level per hour. I don't actually know, but we'll find out. We should, though. And even if not, we're probably still going to do it because I need some tier 7 bones. There are still some of them that would be kind of relevant for like this area over here. And some of them are the highest tier I can use. Not like it would matter too much, but like the quarterstaff, which is one of the best green weapon, or the best green weapon in the game, if ever applicable for this class. I can't even make the higher one at the moment. We'd have to make the tier 7 one. And we get some of that material, some of the other stuff. Not like too important for where we're at right now, but you know, it's still in that like usable category technically. At least for current state of game. Or at least until bone rate level gets higher. It's also the first set of bones where dunking absolutely all of them would technically be worth it at a level. Or processing them into their refined form would actually be a valid XP method. That also would not cost anything. We could technically do it on tier 6 and below, but the XP rate would be pretty abysmal. Tier 7 is like the first tier where dunking the bones would actually be viable training for our bone rate level. It was great to have because we never really had that too much when we were doing Gatherer before they changed the botanist. But now that we're maxing out Forager, we're finally gonna, for the first time ever, have bone to bone right synergy. As we haven't had that since early game, due to how much we end up passiving the bone rate skill. But we're finally going to be at the point where they're aligned. Which is one of the main things I'm trying to do at the moment, other than trying to, you know, align for maxing out alchemy. But aside from aligning for maxing out alchemy, I am trying to align every skill to the new milestone system. It's why when smithing and stonemason bounties come up, we might actually try to push for tier 8. Just to align it with mining and stuff like that. Luckily, leatherworker and merchant are already aligned. Fishing into chef still needs to be realigned. It's like the only two really at this point. Like the only two that are really misaligned are smithing and stonemason to our mining level. Our forager to our bone right, but that's being fixed like as we speak. We're pretty much already there. And then the only other one was our fishing to our chef, but that's going to be a reoccurring issue. As fishing XP is way easier to get than chef XP. And I'm still waiting on them to rework chef before we really go for the grind there. At which point we should be good to go. At one more knowledge point, we can head over to the other area. And then we're stuck in the bone zone all day. Or the rest of the day. It should only take like 3 hours there, so it's not that bad. 3 hours, barely anything. Also, I am slightly glad that Slay the Spire 2 is coming out next week. Because I wouldn't say I'm necessarily like burning out on this grind. But it's definitely taking a little bit longer than expected. With the new milestone changes. Like, it's having the same issue that the 200 curve had earlier. In that when you start gaining the levels way slower, it's very noticeable. It's one thing that burnt us out a little bit when we reached level 200 all. Like over a year ago. And I can see that happening too with a lot of tier 8s and 9s. Where the curve just ends up reaching a point where it's like, that is so much of the same thing over and over again. Like, obviously it's set up for the longevity of the game rather than being expected to like, oh, go grind immediately to max. But Forager's one of those weird ones where it basically just says go immediately grind to max and that you need the monument done. Like, every other skill being lower, it's like, oh yeah, it's fine. Yet they make Forager like, oh yeah, go get like level 475 or whatever it is, or actually even higher than that, the for the Jade piece. Like, go get 494, and then at that point, it's like, that's max level? Just to go get the thing done. Whereas a lot of other skills, you know, you keep them lower and it's not really that big a deal. It's like the one that's currently in the game where it's like, oh yeah, just casually go max the skill. It just seems like a really weirdly high requirement relative to where the rest of the game is. Or pretty much the rest of the game is like, oh yeah, you can just get like Milestone 3 all and have like every feature completed. And then Monument Grind is like, oh yeah, this very important feature that you'll need for forever. Just go max Forger to go get it. They're a little bit misaligned. But the rest of the game is like, yeah, just get tier 3, you'll probably be fine. Maybe tier 4 for some things like Detective and such, you can get all the shortcuts and all. But otherwise, yeah, you'll be fine. And then Forager's like, yeah, just get like 6 levels below max. With the final 2 sets taking forever. Obviously, there'll be way better ways of training in the future, though. If anything, Forager's one of the few that actually benefits quite heavily from the current training methods. As its core gameplay loops are pretty efficient. Same as Merchant. Merchant and Detective are probably the 2 biggest beneficiaries of doing them now, compared to doing them later. It's one of the reasons I'm kind of considering doing the Merchant grind next to some degree. As those are the 2 skills most unaffected by dungeons, world events, and everything else. As their core gameplay loop is already really, really efficient for the skill. The Forager and Detective are the only 2 like that. Pretty much every other skill in the game would benefit from dungeons, raids, everything else. Or, you know, all the features that they're adding in the near future. But Merchant and Forager are already so strong in their base state that you'd probably still do the core gameplay loop even after better options exist. Because they likely wouldn't be better. They would have to make world events and dungeons and stuff for something like Merchant so ridiculously broken for it to be better than the core loop. And likely for Forager too. Forager as a leveling system is not as broken as Merchant. But the main reason why the Forager loops are so strong is the byproduct of what you get from them is really, really, really good. Like, there's basically no dead currency you get, or resource that you get from anywheres in Forager. Whereas, stuff like Botanist, there's so much that is just like, why? That you end up getting throughout the entire skill. Like, there's so little value you end up extracting from it. Alright, this next knowledge point, and we'll get over to the next area. I guess I'll use an 11% this lap, do one last lap. And then we get to say goodbye to this beach until level 815. So we're probably not going to see this area until like Tuesday or Wednesday. So we're going to have a solid 2 days where we don't need to do this a single time. Which I'm looking forward to. I'm getting tired of this beach. I forgot how much a forager's loop is literally just pick up shells from beach. The pick up shell from beach skill. In all fairness, they did warn us with the image of the skill. They did warn us before the game even launched. That this is the pick up shell from beach skill. The icon is literally a hand picking up a shell. They weren't kidding though. Like, this is probably the most accurate icon I've ever seen for a skill ever. The pick up shell from beach skill. In all fairness, I definitely would have maxed that skill in some games in the past. Like, both Animal Crossing games, I would definitely have max level pickups shell from beach skill. Especially the first Animal Crossing. Like the one that was on the GameCube. I would 100% have max level pickup shell from beach skill for how many shells I picked up. It wouldn't quite be maxed in, not Brighter Shores, in, what would you call it? What was the most recent Animal Crossing game? Why am I forgetting? New Horizons. It wouldn't be maxed in New Horizons, but it would definitely be a very high level with how much fishing we've done in that game. I'll pick it up every show along the way. Alright, let's go finish out this loop. The only weird thing about finishing this loop, though, is it doesn't finish at a bank. So I'm gonna have to, like, weave north to go bank, or do a really weird route now. That or just don't drink an XP pot. I guess we'll just do that. I just won't drink a 5% at the stall location. Alright, so once we go and fill up this inventory, I guess we will go and head over to the Bone Zone for the rest of the time then. Not sure if it is quicker or slower or about the same rate as what we're doing now, but we will do it for the rest of the time just for change of scenery. Also, I like some of the songs that play over there too. There's some of the more ambience related ones. I might even turn it up for that area. Where's our volume at? I think some of them are quite a bit lower as well. Might even turn up another one. Just because some of them are so quiet. Actually, you know what? I am going to drink a 5% here. I lied. There's just so much downtime that I gotta do something while standing here. It just feels so inefficient. Just standing there not drinking a potion. But we'll go bank all this and then we'll head to the Bone Zone. And the Bone Zone, if I had to guess, will take about 3 hours. Could be quicker though. But it shouldn't take more than 3 hours. I'm pretty sure it's slower than what we're doing now, though. But if it is, it shouldn't be that much slower. And I need some amount of material, and this is like the only 3-level range where it's worth getting. It's a very small level range where it's worth it, but it is worth it. Alright, bank all this and tele over to the Bone Zone. It's be Bone Zone time. Alright, teleport to Hopeport Coastal. Oh, we still never did get a third teleport here. Chronopolis could really use one in the middle. Hopeport could really use one in, like, bottom right. Like, this area over here. Could really use one. Because they currently have one in northeast. All the way to the west, but they don't really have a good way to get to, like, southeast currently. It's like the main thing missing there. Also, since we're here, just out of curiosity. No, nothing worth catching here. I just wanted to see if they had any, like, the really good ones. I'm going to cancel this XP pot. I'm not sure what our bone route is. I'm just going to start from here, go around, see what happens, and experiment from there. But I'm not sure what our bone route is. Other than the fact that Ram Horn is our best bone now. With a 5%, we're getting 13k from them. That's not horrible, given that there's an 8 spawn. The problem is I can only grab 6 of the 8 spawn because the other 2 are on a mountain a mile away. If we're going to double any of them, we want to try doubling the Ram Horn. Femur would be the next best bet, which is in the other room that we're going to be heading to. Let's see if I can remember this route. I know for sure we skipped that one. We obviously skipped the 2 on the mountain. There's too far with how much you have to backtrack. First time bonus on the jaw, even though it was like 37 levels ago. It's because we didn't bother routing it with nettle or anything back then. It's one of the other reasons I want to do this. These are not buyable from the shop. So every shark jaw I get right now in the next 3 levels is our total amount of shark jaws for all of tier 7. I highly doubt I'll be needing that many for shields or whatever else, but this is literally our total. It's however many we're getting from this. And I believe we take these 3, those 3, grab the bone spike, and we're good to go. Which means based on my ending number, that means I gotta grab the bone spike that's at the beginning then. I wasn't sure if we needed it or not, so I skipped it, but yeah, it does look like we need it. Because this is going to be 1 inventory short, it looks like. Yeah, there we go. Thing is, though, I kind of want to go to, like, the closer bank. And even skip even going all the way out that way. Which means I should double bone here. So let me bone, and then we go straight into it. So we gotta double grab these bones. Alright, so that's the only thing we gotta change with the cycle. You gotta double grab these bones. Oh, wow, that was my first time on Bone Spike, too? I didn't even realize that. Oh, good thing we're doing the bone zone, because we haven't touched any of them. We just got first time on the level 10 bone, and first time on level 35 bone. We've been really neglecting this area this set. Honestly, I might have to do a set like this near the end after we've already maxed Forager, just because of how little we might do it on the final tier. If that's how little we just did it on this tier. Because up to this point, I had 0 bone spikes, and 0 femurs, and 0 shark jaw. We did grab some amount of ram horns based on how these loops work, because they go really well with the level 20 nettle. But that is 3 things that we grabbed 0 of up to this point. At level 47 in the skill. Which is going to be the same thing that's going to happen pretty much at tier 8 and 9 unless we change up our routing a bit. Which means at tier 9 I might have to do some post max of this route. The only big issue with that is we're getting 4 nettle every time. And this requires all those racks. Though we did do the math the other day, we're getting like 300 something racks per hour. Which honestly wasn't that bad. Or was it low 400 something? I can't remember. It was bare minimum at least 300 something though. But the problem with that is like just counting these alone. Like probably every 5 hours that we do this, we'd have to do 1 hour of rack. Which sounds awful. Like 5 hours of this is fine. Well, 1 hour of rack, oh gosh. That sounds worse than 5 hours of this somehow. Rack is just so bad. But I would need to be able to use all the tier 9 fire potions to help speed us through alchemy potentially near the end. But no, we'll see once we get there. But the only big upside to this potion is the best alchemy potion all the way until you get to like Chronopolis potion from an XP perspective. The only problem is the byproduct's really useless in the current state of the game. Burn potion doesn't really do anything. At least not yet. Obviously it does do something in the current state of the game, but what it does is so underwhelming that you would never bother using it. Like, the earliest you would ever use a fire potion is either the first boss that gets released that has a fire weakness, or special attacks. One of those two would have to be implemented, if not both, but definitely at least one of those two, before drinking a fire potion is not completely trolling. One of those two has to happen first, for the fire potion to even be worth drinking over selling to the shop. For now, we're just going to be hoarding them and eventually using them for when, you know, those exist. Ideally both, but bare minimum one or the other. One thing that is interesting about the off elements, though, is every class in the game does have access to both. In the sense that they have a melee weapon and a range weapon that is of fire and necrome for both of them. If they're one-handed or two-handed, or what their attack speed is different across the classes. But them actually having one is consistent. The biggest issue with Crown Knight in that regard is most of them are one-handed, not two-handed. I think the only one he has for two-hand is Necrome. But his ranged Necrome is one-handed. Well, I guess his fire Necrome is two-handed. I guess the biggest two issues is his fire sword is one-handed, and his Necrome range is one-handed. So he's like a half and half. Not sure what the other ones ratio out to. But Crown Knight is one-hand fire with two-hand fire range. But is two-hand Necrome with one-hand Necrome range. Which honestly could potentially be really good, depending on how special attacks work. Because let's hypothetically say almost all Necrome has lifesteal, which I'm so hoping for. But let's hypothetically say every special attack on Necrome has lifesteal. Which is really ambitious to think that would happen, but hypothetically, let's say that. Crown Knight's setup for it would actually be really good for PvP. Is it would have a really slow hitting Necrome two-hand, but then a ranged-based one-hand, so you can use shield benefit while still healing. That's making the bold hypothetical that we're going to get special attack sometime ever. But also, that Necrome would actually be lifesteal on, like, everything. They can't... They gotta put it on something, though. There's no way that no Necrome weapon doesn't have lifesteal. But I don't think all of them necessarily would, though. But they can't not put it on at least, like, one per class. At least something has to have the lifesteal on it. Though, oddly enough, if Crown Knight was to have one or the other, it'd be better for its range to have lifesteal rather than its melee. Mostly because you get to wield a shield with it, which would be useful for PvP or anything that you would need a tank for. So be able to tank while also healing is good. Now we're going to drink a 11% on the next cycle, I think. Also, I do believe this is slower than the route we were doing before. But because we have, like, no bones banked at any point, we have to do Bone Zone from 47 to 50 at every level range. Like, it's basically required just because we're skipping almost all bones otherwise. Hey, we're gonna drink at 11% for every single one. We have enough for today. I just 100% into tomorrow, before tomorrow's stream. I got to go do like an hour of making 11%. We will run out tomorrow. It's not a matter of if, but when. We will have enough for today, though, so that's good. At some point, we just need to go and, like, AFK or, you know, go make an hour's worth of 11%, so we have them for a while. Because honestly, just 1 hour would last us like almost a week. At least with the way that we're using them right now. Or we're just using it mostly for knowledge points. Either for single or double. I'm starting to use them closer to single though, just because we have so many spears. And we shouldn't run out by the time we get to level the alchemy to make stronger ones at some point. We just like barely reached the level recently, but getting 50 levels for alchemy, while not the quickest thing in the world, is something that's on the list of eventually things to do. And we should have enough 11% that by the time we get there, we'd have 12% and not need to worry about it. It's not like we have a lack of things banked for it, that's for sure. We got a lot of stuff banked. Yeah, this is 100% definitely less XP per hour than the other method we were doing. Though I am surprised I never see anyone over here. Like, it is worse than the beach. But I feel like I never see anyone doing this area, ever. Like, not even for the supplies, if you just wanted, like, a handful of them. Like, anytime we've ever done this loop, I've seen 0 other people doing this loop. As I see Cryodek over here, but I think he's doing fishing. He's going to the fish. He's going for trout. I said, hello, Jets. Welcome, welcome. Like, I've literally never seen a single other person ever doing these. Do people just not want bones? Also, one thing that's also odd. I haven't been seeing people do sardines. Is that not a fishing task for bounties? Because I never see anyone with a sardine task going and doing these sardines. Unless they're just deliberately not doing them. Because they're not that good. That's 2 things I've always found weird about this area. Is I never see anyone picking up these bones, and I never see anyone doing these sardines, even since fishing bounties. Unless these 2 rooms have a weird limit, room limit of 1. But I know for sure I've seen other people, so that's definitely not the case. Unless they broke something recently. Because we've definitely seen people here before. Not that many. But, you know, more than 0. I've just never been seeing anyone, like, spam train this area. Which I do find slightly odd. Because who's bringing all the bones into the game, then? If no one's gathering a triple bone. The triple bone route. Actually, sorry, this is a quad bone route, because you're also getting bone spike. You're literally getting 4 different bones from this. Bone spike, ram horn, shark jaw, and of course the femur. The only one you're not getting is, whatever that one goat one was, I believe. Yeah, goat horn's the only one you don't get from this. But I always find it odd how empty this area normally is. Like, everyone just does beach spam. Because beach spam is pretty broken, but... It's just weird that no one else is doing this. Like, it makes sense why there's more at beach, but it doesn't really make sense why this place is always so empty. Especially for people who have trading enabled. Because you get 2 supplies here that you have to trade for. You can't buy it from a shop. You either have to get it yourself or trade other people. It's the nettle that we're getting that makes the fire potion. Which, while the potion is bad, the XP rate for it is absurdly good for its level range. You basically do it for like 30 levels. It's actually that good. And the other one is Shark Jaw, which is needed for every shield upgrade in the game, but particularly for Guardians. Both of those 2 items you can only buy from other players if you have trading enabled. And if you don't have trading enabled, you have to do this to even get them. Which means there's so many people in the game that don't have any shield material or fire potions. Just from how much of a lack there is of anyone gathering them. Because at this rate, I want to see if we can even find, like, one other person who's going to come into one of these rooms this stream. Because that'd be kind of crazy if we somehow go this entire stream and see no one in either of these 2 rooms. And if we do see someone, I'm willing to make a bet they're just here for, like, the fishing task or something. Assuming sardines even can be a fishing task. I assume they can. I don't see why they wouldn't be. I was never at the level range, so I'm not sure if they can or not. I know they're like flounder in a weird way where you can't use them for anything. You just simply pick them up and sell them, or drop them to the ground. AKA drop them to the ground. Oh yeah, I forgot. If I want to be able to use the XP pot here, there's one thing I'm doing wrong with this route. I got a XP pot after the double bone spike. Oh, a person! Let's see if we can find them, or if they're just going to the AFK. If they're still there by the time we come back, they didn't go to the AFK. Oh, I forgot to do it again. I literally just said this seconds ago, too. But I gotta drink the 5% at Nettle. I gotta not drink it at Bone Spike. Otherwise, the last 2 femurs don't get 5%ed. And it's better to have that 5% on the 2 femurs than it is to have it on the 2 Bone Spike. At least at this level range. As well as any level range that would likely do the Bone Zone. We've generally only been doing the Bone Zone when everything's maxed. And honestly, Tier 8 and Tier 9 might be the same. The only issue of doing it that way, though, is that means post-max, I would have to do some amount of Forager of this route. Just because the amount of bones you would grab in 3 levels is very, very low for Tier 9. For other tiers, it's kind of fine. But for Tier 9 in particular, we would want way more than just the bare minimum of bones from 3 levels. That's not going to cut it in the long term. Yeah, let's see if we remember this time. We'll grab this one, grab the other one. And we move right over there. Also, this wasn't all done on the Bone Zone, but we are getting slightly more than a level an hour. I should probably start timing it from the mark, though. So let's count this as the hour. And say that we're at half level. And see if we can get to 48.5 by the end of the hour, then. Because if so, then we're gaining at least a level an hour right now. Yeah, by the end of this hour, we need to be level 48.5. And if so, then we're at least still doing over a level an hour. As long as we're reaching at least that from this loop, that's fine. And we should be, counting knowledge. So for at least at 48.5, we'll be golden then for this loop. And if we're somehow not, I might pivot back to the other thing. Oh no, we need some amount of bones here. It's just tier 7's the last tier where we kind of care about having the bones, but it's not like really required. Tier 8 and 9 is where it really starts to get required, particularly 9. Yeah, look, see? He's just doing the fish. He's not doing bones right now. I've never seen anyone picking up bones in this area. Are people that anti-bone for Forager? Like, the only time I've ever seen someone in one of these two rooms, they were picking up sardines. For what I assume are fishing bounties, but they might just be doing it for the sake of it. Oops, I was considering... I had my finger over the hotkey of the potion. I remembered not to drink it. Also, I was about to drink the wrong tier as well. I need to drink a tier 1 so we can use the knowledge point here. Drink it right there. Grab that. Get that in there. Good to go. I just realized something. Does manual walking there save a tile? Because I thought you could diagonal all those, but you actually can't diagonal the final one because of the rock there. I need to go double check the next time we do that route. I'm not sure if I'm going to bother doing that. But manual clicking saves 1 tick. It's so small, but I don't know. I probably can't be bothered to do that every time there. But I believe that does save 1/3 of a second each time. I'm probably not going to bother though. Yeah, he has to do an extra tile because he's walking around the thing. So if you pre-moved there, you'd be good to go. Oh yeah, this is definitely a fishing bounty. There's 2 people here. There wouldn't be 2 people here if this wasn't a bounty. But once again, no one doing the bones. Anytime anyone's ever here, they're doing the sardines, not the bones. I never see one doing like a bunch of circles on bones. And the nice thing about the set, too, is it's almost exactly 2 minutes. Not counting bank time. But the potion lasts effectively the entire time. It lasts for everything except for 2 nodes. So it's pretty close to a 2-minute set, not counting bank time. Because most of the sets we've been doing haven't been, like, right on that 2-minute mark. They've been closer to, like, 2.5 or something similar. But this one's like nearly exactly on the 2-minute mark. But yeah, right over here. This one I believe is better to manual click to the north of it. Because it'll default to that tile. But that'll save 1 tile every time. Are we going to bother doing that every time? I'm not sure, but probably not. But you do get to save a tile there from manual clicking. I probably can't be bothered to do that every time, though. Oh. Also, speaking of in the past, the last few days, weird things with a weird hitbox. Shark jaw. The problem is the center of it isn't always a click box. Notice how it keeps like hovering in and not hovering. It keeps like fading in and out when I go there. There's like a really weird section right in the middle that's not considered a hitbox that kind of looks like it is. Because on a lot of the other bones that would count as a hitbox, but because this one is somewhat newer, they made its hitbox a little bit weirder. Like right here, if I go in between the femur, you'll notice it's still hovering over it. But if you do that at some point to the shark jaw, it doesn't end up doing it. Where it looks like you're still hovering over the object, but you're actually not. As far as like what's considered a valid click. Whereas a lot of the other bones in the game, you can be in that like middle section and it still counts as being hovered over it for most of them. Because they fixed those in the past, but they haven't adjusted that for shark jaw, which is a relatively newer one. Something they'll probably do in some smaller update at some point. But because the shark jaw was added more recently, they haven't redone its hitbox compared to the bones. Or, you know, all the other bones. Let's see, what's our XP after like 10 minutes? Yeah, it doesn't move that much. This might actually be substantially worse than the beach method we were doing. Well, no, I need some amount of bones. We can't go with none. But no, we'll see where we are like fully at the end of the hour. If we're not at 48.5, we have to go back to the other method. And just worry about the bones a little bit more, just at like tier 9 or something. And somewhat at tier 8, but mostly tier 9. Because we never have done the math on the bones. Like, it's definitely worse, it's really just... How much worse is it relative to the value that you're getting from the bones being banked, though? But if by end of the hour we're not even close to 48.5, then yeah, it's pretty bad. Because that means we'd be gaining under 1 level an hour. Just by pretty comfortably gaining like 1.2 from the other area. This is definitely lower than 1.2, it just... If it's somehow lower than even 1, then that's a problem. Yeah, so far, anyone I see in the area are literally just fishing bounties, or whatever they're doing for fishing. I assume bounties, though. There's never anyone grabbing bones. The bone economy for trading must be horrible right now. Like, no one's ever grabbing bones. Every time I've ever been here, I think we've seen like 2 people total even touch a bone in this area. And they were doing the really efficient grabbing them off the hill as well. I just realized Shark Troll isn't even over 10,000. It's actually crazy how low that is at this level range. The other ones are more in line. It's just weird because this one is tier 7. They all are. Is this XP just like that low? Like the curve on it? It's not that low. It's like what, -5%? Somewhere around there. Like it's lower, but it's not that low. Alright, this will definitely be an 11% potion so that we can use the extra benefit from it. Get our knowledge point in there. And that means within like 15-ish minutes, we did gain about a quarter of a level then. Which I guess is on par for our 1 level an hour kind of thing. So I wonder if going to the side of that is actually better as well. Kind of like how we save 1 tile here. It definitely feels like we can save like 1 second of time if we manually click everything in this room. I'm not sure if I could be bothered to do that though. Oh, people exist. Are they doing bones or are they doing fish though? It looks like they're doing fish. Okay, so sardines are definitely a fishing bounty. So that makes sense. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be. But sardines are 100% a fishing bounty. But everyone I keep seeing here are just doing fishing bounties. They're not doing the bone zone. No love for the bone zone. Oh, someone doing bones? He was moving as if he's not doing fish. Those two are definitely doing fish. He's finished his bounty. This one's just working on it. Also, I forget what ram horn is used for now. They ended up changing this the other day. And I completely forget what ram horn is used for. I guess I could somewhat checking as we're clicking around. But I cannot remember what ram horn is used for. Oh, we can kind of tell this way. Hold up. I can tell you exactly what ram horn is used for without even clicking on something. It is used for a longbow, a poleaxe, and a heavy crossbow. For all intents and purposes for us, that means it's only used for upgrading your weapon. Which is what all of them are, other than the shark jaw. The longbow, it's two-handed fire bow, if I'm not mistaken. Poleaxe is also two-handed fire. I never realized that. Guardian has double two-hand fire. It's both longbow and poleaxe, I believe, are fire. And this longbow is the green one, and the other one was the fire one. The recurve bow. I can't remember which one is which. But it does have double two-handed fire, regardless. I can't remember if this is, like, one of the colored two-hand weapons, or if that's the fire one. But poleaxe definitely is fire, and heavy crossbow, I believe, is def? Necrome? But, yeah, it's the final tier of them. Interesting. Which I guess makes sense, is the highest level one we're grabbing. It's also the one we're grabbing the most of whenever we do this set. Bone Spike's the one we get the least, so there are multiple grinds that get Bone Spikes, though. And by far, Ramhorn would be the most that we'd have the most of. As you grab them when you do Nettle as well. Like, every loop that you would do in this area would grab the most amount of ram horn. You also get 5 shark jaw, which is pretty nice because that one's the shield untradeable one. Or unbuyable one. Hey, someone's doing bones. They do exist. We spotted one. See if we can find more than one person today. That's the first person all day we've seen doing bones. Yeah, they're definitely way, way, way less popular than the beach. Though it makes sense. Why, though? Not only is the beach area more accessible, but, it's just better XP per hour. But the problem is you're not getting any bones, though. It's all just alchemy stuff. Which obviously is good, but it's only alchemy stuff. I do have to say, though, the level ranges that you can realistically do bones is so small compared to Gatherer, though. In Gatherer, you would do bones as, like, nearly half the skill. Like, around 40% the skill, if not slightly higher, was just bones. For Forager, as far as optimal level ranges, you do bones for, like, 3 to 5 levels. There's some routes that might get a few other bones here and there. But as far as bone focus, there's really only 3 levels where you're, like, going all in on bone. Whereas for Gather in the past, you would do, like, whole inventory, just 24 into the same bone, 24 into the same bone. But here there's, like, 3 levels, and even then, you're still gaining some non-bones in your inventory. Because we're grabbing 4 not bone every bone cycle. So even though we're doing a full inventory, we're only grabbing 20 bones. Ranging from 4 different ones rather than just, you know, 24 of one. Like how Gatherer was before. Which puts a lot of hole into bone, right? Luckily, it's really easy to passive to max. And we're mostly just using this material for weapon upgrades in the future. Which is why we need more than none. As well as shield upgrades with the shark jaw thing. That's a little bit less relevant, though. But, yeah, we definitely want some, but I guess 3 levels is enough. It's really only tier 9 where that's probably not going to be enough. As we're going to need way more weapons than how many we'll get from 3 levels at tier 9. But that's a later issue. That's like a post-max issue. That will be something we have to concern ourselves with at some point, but will not matter for a very, very long time. For how long it would take for our tier 9 stuff to eventually deplete. Even if we did no post-max Forger. Loading Rat, that's a funny name. Not sure why it doesn't have a space, though. There's enough room for it. That might mean that loading Rat with a space was already taken. So he's a loading Rat with no space. Because that name is short enough that I think you can do the whole thing, right? Yeah. That name is short enough that you can add a space there. Which implies that loading Rat with a space has been taken. So you have to take a loading Rat with no space. Because there's just barely enough room to put the space there. If someone's doing the 2 side room route, which is honestly pretty good. When you get access to Nettle, it's it actually can compete a little bit with the beach method. Especially if you're doing a trout fishing task there. Or if you just want a lot of Nettle for the XP. Or because you're trying to sell it to someone. Though I feel like in the trading economy, rack would be worth so much more than Nettle. Like, there's a good chance that rack costs like 2 times, 3 times the cost of Nettle. I'm not sure because I still haven't checked to see what the trading economy is even like for this game. I tried looking for the website that's for trading earlier, and I think all I found was like a real-world trading website that some bot farm's probably still doing. Or an old one. I can't even find like the official site for trading. I might have to go check like the Discord or something else to go see. Because I know they exist, but with a quick Google search, I couldn't even find one. I'm curious to see where some of the economy currently is right now. Because if I had to guess, there's a lot of stuff that's mega cheap and a lot of stuff that's mega expensive. Cheap from all the people offloading and really expensive because they're just hoarding it until there's eventually a buyer. And pretty much nothing in between. Like, there's going to be people who are going to be selling stuff for cheaper than the low sell price from a shop. Or, you know, just the low sell price in general. But then there will also be people who are marking up, like, 1.5x the buy price from a shop. Just to save on banking time. As well as all the resources that you can't even buy from a shop. Which, if I had to guess, the most expensive one in that regard right now is probably Rack. Which is why I'm bringing this up. Because Rack is likely the most expensive thing in the game in the trading economy right now. That is specifically in the category of you can gather it, but you can't buy it in a shop. Rack should be the highest in that regard, just because of how good it is for training alchemy to max. Potion itself is not good, but its XP rate is really good. For about 20-30 levels. Oh, we got 2 people doing bones now. They do exist. Nice. Hello, Ambardia. Welcome, 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 Bozeman Wall. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, we're just chilling this weekend, trying to get our Milestone 8 in. Still got a whole another 2 to do after that, but we'll get there eventually. It's taking a bit longer than expected under a new Milestone system, but we gotta get it done. I need that monument upgrade. Then we can go chill and start doing, like, AFK combat off stream and stuff like that. I'm looking forward to the smithing bounties we're going to be getting in 2 Mondays from now. I was curious to see what quality of life we get this week, because there's definitely a lot of things that category this game needs. But that's going to probably be pretty small unless they do something crazy in left field. But right now, smithing bounty is like the main thing that we know about that's coming in the next like month or so that I'm looking forward to the most. Even more than the Easter event or anything. I really hope Easter event isn't for Forger. Hopefully it'll do it for a different skill if they do it kind of like how the Christmas one was. For the main reason being we already have it maxed, obviously. Or would by then, of course. You finally got luck and rage pots? Yeah, nice. Yeah, I love those potions. I mentioned before Milestones came out that if we got in rage pots, that's literally the only thing I need from the update, and they actually did it. Because it seemed likely they would eventually add them, but we weren't certain if they, you know, if we were going to get that in Milestones or not. Until the beta that happened before it. And yeah, we actually did get in rage potions, which is huge. It's a little unfortunate it's a 1/3 knowledge nerf, but at least it's better than what it was at one point where they nerfed it down to 0 in the beta. It was originally full, then 0, and then they did a compromise of 1/3. It's still a little rough, but still kind of worth it for how AFK it is. But yeah, Luck and Rage is insane. I have never been more geared than I am right now relative to my level range. I'm basically in full tier 4. With a solid tier 3 weapon that we can go upgrade later at any point. That we all got from drops. Every single one of these is drops. Or crafted from the 3 stars we got. Like my helmet is crafted from 3 stars, my legs are crafted from 3 stars. The gloves and boots were drop. And of course the body and shield were drop. Though we're not using shield, so that being slightly lower rare doesn't really matter. This is pretty much the most stacked relative to our level range we've ever been on armor. Not so much on weapons, but I'll be upgrading them where applicable. But our armor in particular from luck potions just skyrocketed like crazy, the amount of gear we have. That and, I'm not sure if it stacks multiplicitly or additively. But it definitely stacks with all the enemies that have better drop rate. So getting geared off of something that's plus 50% while using luck potion is so insanely strong. Especially if they're multiplicitly working together. Which they might nerf at some point, because I believe they are multiplicitly working, but based on how geared I am, I think they are multiplied together. So instead of getting 150%, you're basically getting 2 times the benefit. I'm not sure if they're going to nerf that in the future, but I'm almost guaranteed that the boost from Luck Potion and the boost from, you know, whatever percent the enemy has is multiplicitly rather than additively working. If it was additive, it would just be 150% bonus. But the 100% is basically doubling the other one, making it almost effectively 2 times bonus. Or I guess 3 times in a way if you look at, depending on how you look at it. If it's doing it on the full base value. Which I feel like it is. Because we're getting really lucky. Because we've never been even remotely close to this geared before. It's actually crazy how much gear we've gotten just from Luck Potions. And using the 50% modifier on them while using Luck Potion. Because they end up nerfing that with bounties. The multiplicit bonus that you got from doing bounties with XP pots end up getting nerfed to additive. And they might start doing that to a few other things just because it's kind of broken if it multiplied everything everywhere. There's one to few that they already nerfed. But bounty's the only one that's been nerfed that way. I'm pretty sure almost every other mechanic in the game, it just multiplies stuff together. So any amount of extra bonus tends to be a lot more than it actually seems. But they might start nerfing some more of those like they did with bounties, though. You can get some pretty ridiculous numbers at some point. So they might want to keep them a little bit in check. But Luck Potion with 50% modifier right now is so insane. It just prints loot. Like, if you use an Enrage Potion and a Luck Potion and kill something that's a 50% modifier, or, you know, bonus modifier, you will come back to a 2-star or higher item literally every time, basically. Like, every time you come back from the Enrage AFK, you will have a 2-star or higher on the ground, pretty much. Not always, but pretty much every time. If you're using Luck Potion on something that has a 50% plus modifier. So how are we doing on time right now? We're at about half an hour, and gained about half a level. Okay. So this method is not that bad. It's definitely slower than what we were doing before. But what we're doing right now is close to 1 level per hour, whereas what we were doing before was like 1.2, 1.3 levels an hour counting knowledge. Whereas this is about 1 level per hour counting knowledge. So this is definitely slower, but, you know, you're getting a different variety of resources that you would almost never really grab otherwise. So it's kind of worth it. But it seems to be about 20% worse, roughly, give or take a little. It's about 20% worse than what we were doing before. Despite it being a higher level activity. Which is one thing that's always kind of weird about the new system to some degree. Is they're balanced based on, you know, just like the static numbers, but not necessarily based on everything else they could be synergized with. It's one of the reasons why Merchant is so strong. Is they balanced it around like an average player. And not people who are like mega ultra min-maxing Merchant. And Forager's kind of similar with how it's set up. Where it's balanced the same way that like mining or botanist or something would be. But the difference is there's a billion nodes on top of each other. So the way that it's balanced is a little bit weird. Because it can't really use the same balance that everything else does, even though it does. Which leads to this higher level activity being literally worse than what we were doing at level 15. Despite this requiring 47 to properly do. That's why there's so many people on that beach. Is that level 15, the loop we were doing before is better XP and knowledge than, or at least total XP, I'm not sure about knowledge, but I'm pretty sure it's knowledge as well. But it's overall better XP than the 47 method. So you get access to it like 32 levels earlier, and it's still better. But of course this is for a different variety of loot as well. It's not that much worse. It is worse though. It's not that much worse, at least at this level range. The only problem with this is there's literally only 3 levels where this is worth doing. It's at 47, 48, and 49. It's a single 3 level range. Whereas the other loop, of course, is viable for like 30 something. Like 32 levels. But this is only viable for 3. Pretty much right when you get that ram horn upgrade. You could technically do it at femur, but I don't think it's worth doing it at femur. You kind of need that ram horn to kind of push it into not completely irrelevancy. Like, you need, like, everything to be at the tier that you're currently at. Not just some of it. It's why we skipped Bone Jaw as well, or the Shark Jaw. Because going for a Shark Jaw loop just isn't worth it. You could maybe do some kind of Nettle. At level 20, you could maybe do a Nettle plus Shark Jaw loop if you really wanted to. But it'd be substantially worse than whatever you'd just be doing on Beach at level 15 with the shells at that point. But these are all the manual clicks I think would save the most time. You manual click there, you manual click there. You then manual click here, so you save the corner tile here. And these two you just click. But those are the 3 tiles I believe save a total of 1 second in this room if you want to bother with them. I'm not most of the time, but that should save about 1 second every cycle. There's some things I'll do it for, I just can't be bothered to do it right now though. But yeah, you can save about 1 second in that room roughly. But it requires like 3-4 manual clicks. Should be 3, but you kind of have to do... In order to save the 1 tile on 1, you got to manual click twice, so I guess it is 4. Which is probably like the most inefficient clicks to tiles saved you could do. Is double manual click to save 1 tile. Because ideally you want at least 1 to 1 if you're going to bother with it. Just because saving 1 tile is like 1/3 of a second roughly. So to do 2 clicks just to save 1/3 of a second is kind of bad. Like, obviously it's better than not saving it, but it's a lot of effort for how little it does. It's one of the biggest issues with trying to save ticks in this game in general, compared to, let's say, old school RuneScape, is you save 0.6 seconds for every tick you save in that game. Whereas in Brighter Shores, you save about half that, roughly. Slightly more than half, but it's about half. Which makes it a lot less worth it unless you're saving 2 ticks from something. Which is normally whenever an object is cornering you, you can end up saving 2. It's not going to happen too much because we're doing flat stuff right now. Happens a lot in Chapter 2, though. Where you're taking a tree or a botanist thing, and you have an object that forces you to a tile. But if you would have just manual clicked to the other tile, you would have saved 2 tiles. In those instances, that 1 click saves more than 1 tick in RuneScape. Or in old school RuneScape specifically. And in those cases, it is really worth doing it. But otherwise, if you're only saving like 1 tile or 2 clicks for 1 tile, it's not that much. Like per set, you'd save like maybe 1 to 2 seconds depending on what you're doing. Like, it's worth it if you really want to bother with efficiency, but like losing 2 seconds every 2 minutes isn't too big a deal. You're losing like, what, 1% of your total time? I guess it's a little bit more than that because of how minutes and seconds work, because they're not, you know, out of 100. Or you're losing like 2-point-something% of your total time. Like somewhere's around there. Like obviously that adds up, but it's not too big. Like you're making up more with the 5% than you would be like from the ticks being lost. Though of course stacking them both together for benefit would be even better than not doing either though. Because that's just comparing it to not even drinking a 5%. But of course you can do both, which would save even more. Oh, that's a misclick. I hate these things hitboxes. I hope the update this Monday is fix Shark Jaw hitbox. I'm not sure what the quality of life update is this Monday. We'll find out on Monday. I assume it's not anything too huge. But I really hope somewhere's on that list has fixed all bone hitboxes, particularly Shark Jaw. Because they modified a lot of the other bones in the past, but because Shark Jaw is so new, they haven't changed Shark Jaw yet. And that's probably the weirdest hitbox of any bone at the moment. Hey, how are we doing on our 1 level per hour? We have 20 minutes to get 1/3 of a level. That's not that bad. That's technically exactly 1 level an hour. If we're at 2/3 and we need 20 minutes to get 1 full hour, that would be literally on the dot 1 level an hour, which is slower than what we were doing before, but we're getting bones and other stuff instead of just the thing we already have thousands of banked. Which reminds me, if we're not grabbing any more of those, I could check the bank right now. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do that after the set. If we go check the bank right now, the total number that we have in there is our final number. So let me go check those. I guess technically I'll be grabbing some shells if we do the 15 route with the shell. Because I'll be grabbing some starfish at the previous tier. Tier 7. But aside from that, if I don't do that now, the amount of kelp and shells specifically... Sorry. Yeah, the kelp and shells. The kelp and shell stack should be our final numbers for tier 7. Not so much starfish, because we will get some more when we do the tier 8 for the other route. Because we'll still be grabbing tier 7 starfish then. But specifically the kelp and shell, the numbers we have now should give us a good idea of the disparity between tier 6, 7, and 8. At least to some degree. Because we'll get to see the difference, because we did a pretty similar route for this tier compared to the previous. So we'll kind of get to see exactly where the numbers are. We do have to factor in that we did make about 100-something potions out of the previous tier, though. But it wasn't that many. But we did make more than none. So we do have to factor that a little bit in for tier 6. Because the number is a bit higher than whatever it shows in there since we converted a couple into potion. That's what these XP pots are coming from. As well as one of the healing pots. Not sure if it was this one specifically. I could check. Oh yeah, these healing pots too. And I probably used several of these too, which means I made probably about 350-ish of these. Maybe even slightly more. Definitely at least 312, obviously, because there's 312 there. The problem is I don't know how many to drink at this point. If any. I feel like I would have drank at least some though. But bare minimum, we made at least 312 kelps. Or, you know, we have at least bare minimum 312 more kelp at tier 6. Could be slightly higher, but bare minimum, that's how many we made. Let me just check real quick, though. Withdrawal items. Potion reagents. What am I looking for? Pond wheat? No, not pond wheat. I'm looking for kelp and shell. Let's go get the kelp first. Interesting? Huh. The way we did kelp, we actually gained less kelp. I guess that makes sense because I dropped 1 kelp for one of my main cycles. So I was grabbing 1 less kelp per set. But we had like 2,600 kelp when accounting for potions we made. Compared to only 2,200 this time. That's rather interesting. A couple of these we grabbed less too of, which is weird. Because obviously tier 7's taking longer than tier 6. But we can see multiple things where we gained more of. The kelp one is obvious though. The 2,500 to like, or 2,600 to 2,200. The main reason for this is I dropped 1 kelp from my set. But this one's interesting too. Because I somehow grabbed 120 less limpet or so. Alright, let's go check the main one that matters though. Shell. Again! That is so weird. How is this number higher? Because of course we made like 100, 200 of these potions. So this is closer to 3,400. And this is 3,290. How did we grab more shells at tier 6? And now this one doesn't make sense. How did we grab more shells at tier 6 than tier 7? I didn't do anything in between that would have done that, I don't think. I can't think of anything I would have done that would have caused that to happen. That is so weird. If anything, I should have more shells this set. Because one of the kelps got replaced with an extra shell, I'm pretty sure. With the way that we end up routing it this time. That makes no sense to me. How does that happen? I am really confused. There's no reason our tier 7 shell should be lower than our tier 6 shell. Not only did we make a couple hundred 11% out of those, which means tier 6 is even higher than that already higher number. But I did a route that grabs more shells. I'm very confused. There's literally no reason why that number should be lower. Oh, did we maybe passive more at some of the level ranges? Because there was that one day where I had to passive a bit longer. Did passiving just that little amount really make that big of a difference? That's the only thing I can think of. That's the only disparity between tier 6 and 7 that was like substantial to any degree. Is I believe I've gained about 2 to 3 more passive levels in this tier compared to the previous tier. So I guess that was enough to make it that big of a difference. I didn't think it would be that huge because, you know, you need more XP total and everything, but apparently so. Passiving like 2 to 3 extra levels compared to the previous tier was enough to make the previous tier shells higher by like 10%. Despite our route grabbing more shells of that kind. Wouldn't think a few levels would make that big a difference, but apparently so. Because that's the only disparity between the two sets that could have possibly done that. Is I gained more passive XP at tier 7 compared to tier 6. Not that much more, but at least 2 levels, if not 3. More compared to tier 6's passive route. And it's only going to keep increasing, by the way. Tier 8's going to have a lot of passive, and tier 9 for our sanity might also have a little bit of passive offsetting. Especially at some level ranges where we don't have access to as many good things. From 32 to the end, we'd probably grind it out, but there's a couple other dead zones in between that we might want to fix with passives. Most notably 25 to 32 is a really good area in Forge or the passive. For 2 reasons. Both because the passives are good at that level range, the 25 and 30 ones. But also because it's the point right before you get your really good XP method with Starfish. Where you get like the full set of the Kelp Starfish shell. Like it's right before you get your really good XP rate that you can run technically all the way to the end of the skill if you want to. Like if you really want to, you could run 32 all the way to Milestone, next Milestone. Doing just the shell Starfish Kelp route. You can still do that at level 15, but the problem with doing it at 15 is the Starfish is not upgraded to 32. So it's really good for several levels, but starts to fall off when you're, you know, not in that Starfish range. So passiving from 25 to 32 for Forger is actually really strong. It's probably the strongest area you could passive. It's one of the reasons before we try do Slay the Spire 2 next week. I want to try to get to level 25. Like around that area, at least within boostable range. It is pretty much required that we have at least 23 by the end of Wednesday's stream. Because that's what we're going to be doing. We're just going to passive basically. It's going to be aligned perfectly to passive from 25 to 32 during that time, during those 4 days. And that'll be the game plan then. As it gets to skip the deadest area in Forager. Not that it's like mega dead, but it's deader than any other area, I would say. So is right at the beginning, but the passives at the beginning aren't that good. Like, the very first one is just because the XP boost got, like, crazy up, but, like, the actual supplies you get from it's not good is the main thing. The XP curve definitely is. But the actual, also, how am I 1 bone short? What did I skip? But the resources you get are pretty bad, though. But yeah, what happened here? I'm confused. What happened? I guess I just forgot to double something? Because I believe I grabbed every node. Oh, I think I skipped a femur in the other room. I think I see what happened. I've done that a couple times. In the second shark jaw room, I sometimes skip 1 femur because I should have 5, not 4. Just because it kind of blends in and almost looks like a rock. I've done that a handful of times, and I think that's what I just did because I think I only had 4 instead of 5. Oh yeah, how are we doing on time? We have 9 minutes to get a 10th of a level. Basically, this needs to be halfway there in 10 minutes. If so, what we're doing right now is indeed 1 level an hour. But that's slower than the 1.2-ish that we were getting earlier. But we're getting a bunch of bones, and we only have to do it for 3 levels, so we might just stick with this. I just want to go back to the beach. So this is definitely worse, but it's giving us a different variety of resources. I don't know, maybe for that final stretch we'll go switch over. It saves like 20-30 minutes today if we were to. And would also give us more of those other supplies that apparently seem to be a bit lower than I expected them to be. It would put them more in line with how many we got at tier 6. And because of that, for the sake of alchemy, I think we will do that. They do want to finish the full 1 hour here, so at least we did the bone zone for 1 hour. So as soon as we get this like halfway there, in like 10 more minutes, I think we'll go head over to the other route just because it is better per hour. And just to make sure we have a very similar amount of alchemy supplies at both level ranges. Because after seeing those numbers, we somehow have less at tier 7 than we do at tier 6. Which I wasn't expecting. But is what happened. It was mostly because of the few extra levels of passive, though. Because when I say a few extra levels of passive, that's not just the normal passives we were doing. Like, you know, obviously whenever we sleep. But 3 whole extra levels of passiving on top of that is what we did at this tier. Roughly. Like anywhere from 2 to 3. So when I say like 2 or 3, that's not only 2 to 3 passive levels. That's 2 to 3 more passive levels than what we did at tier 6. And apparently that was enough to make that big of a difference. I'm actually kind of surprised. Like, obviously it would change it some. I just didn't think it would change it that much. But I guess that makes sense, given that every tier is only 50 levels. And if you're already passiving, let's say, I don't know, 6 levels. To passive additional 3 on top of those 6? At that point, you just passived almost 1/5 of the total levels. Compared to before, where it would have been close to like 1/6 or 1/7 for something. Probably closer to 1/6. But like the total amount of extra that we passived went up by like what? 10%? Like almost 10% more. Oh, 10% more compared to total. I guess compared to how much we passived earlier, it'd be closer to like 30-something%. So I guess that's what really made the difference. Like 10% total of the 50 levels we ended up passiving. But compared to how much we passived otherwise on the previous set, it is an increase of over like 30-something%. Which I guess that's what the biggest difference maker was. Because putting it that way, it's really big. Like, you can definitely see the difference that way. You went from passiving 6 levels to 9, which in that case is a 50% increase. If those numbers are correct. I'm not sure what the exact numbers are, though, of course. But hypothetically, if that was correct, that is a 50% increase. Like, on the dot. He says a total, it's only a 10%, but when compared to before, it's a 50% increase, so putting it that way makes it a very big number. It's a little bit easier to see that way why it's such a big difference. Because 10% of total doesn't seem like it's much, but 50% more than the previous. It definitely shows why there's such a disparity between the two numbers. All right, 5 minutes left and we would have done this set for 1 hour. And the verdict compared to the route we were doing before is 100% less XP per hour. Not literally 100%, but you know what I mean. 100% as in is definitely less XP per hour. The actual margin is like 15 to 20% worse. But you get bones. As well as 2 resources that are not buyable from a shop, Nettle and Shark Jaw. But it is slower. By bare minimum 15%. Which isn't that much slower, but slower enough that I think after we finish this hour, we're heading back to the beach. So it is for about another 5 minutes, do like 2 or 3 more sets. And then I think we do the rest on the beach until we hit tier 8. Which by the time we head over there is pretty much only going to be like 1 hour of it, a little over an hour. And then I'm probably going to start AFKing the pondweed off stream. Maybe I'll do a little bit of on stream, but I am starting to get pretty hungry. I didn't eat anything yet today. I normally do if we're going to be going for longer, though, of course. But today was a pretty easy goal, just tier 8. And I don't really like doing the pond weed just because it's one of the most, like, repetitive things in all Forager. I say the only thing worse than pond weed spam is rack spam because they're not all in the same room. But it's one of the reasons why pond weed is even better off stream. As it's very, very easy AFK. You just take all 6, wait, come back, take all 6, wait, come back, take all 6. You can't do that with rack because it's separated by 4-4. Whereas in the entirety of Forager, the only skill in the, or the only resource in the entire game where you get access to it and all 6 of them are in the same room, or all 8 of them, which none of them are, but for all 6 of them to be in the same room, Pondweed is the only one in all Forager where that's the case. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, not counting Botanist, it might be one of the only few things in any skill where everything of the type is in the same room. Because most of Forager, mining, stuff like that, fishing even, I guess maybe not fishing. Okay, I guess fishing has a lot, never mind. Fishing has it a ton. Because yeah, it's the only thing in all Forager where all 6 of the nodes that you just got are in the same room. Obviously there's rooms with more than 6 Forager nodes, but it is the only thing in all of Forager where all 6 of them are in the same room. Which is why it is so AFK. Same reason why fishing is in that regard to some degree. It's why other than fishing bounties, we haven't been showing too much on-stream fishing ever. As the general gameplay loop is take all 6, maybe take some extra nodes in the room, but if you're just taking a node of whatever the, you know, thing in question is, the highest level thing, you literally just take 6, wait, take all 6, wait, take all 6, wait, take all 6, wait, bank, go. And repeat infinitely. It's the main gameplay loop that I try not to stream. As it's way better to do semi-AFK in a sense. As there's no variance to it, there's nothing you can really do to modify it much. And it benefits heavily from being somewhat AFK since you have to wait anyways. Every time. Hey, another person doing bones. We're not alone! This is the 3rd person now who's done bones. I'm not sure if he's doing bones just because we're doing bones right now. And he wanted to join us. But, he's in the bone zone right now. Though we're about to leave the bone zone. So he'll take our place. He'll make sure the rooms aren't completely empty. As we go leave soon. To go back to the beach. But yeah, we did gain a level in an hour. Technically slightly over a level, so honestly this isn't that much worse. I would have to do the math to figure out the exact difference, but we're gaining like 1.05 or 1.1 levels an hour, whereas the other thing was 1.2 levels an hour. Almost 1.25. So it is like a 0.1 worse than the other skill. However, the other one you get access to at level 32. This you don't get access to till 47. Yet it is still at bare minimum 0.1 worse per hour for EXP at this level range. Despite having a 15 level higher requirement. It is still like 10% worse. Despite having a 15 level higher requirement for it. Which is kind of insane. But I guess it's somewhat also because you get 2 items that aren't viable at shop, the nettle and the shark jaw. So I guess they're counting that for value. Rather than, because of their distribution, you're getting like more money value in a sense. Rather than EXP or knowledge value. That's interesting. He's doing the circle and the other way around. I guess that would work, wouldn't it? I've never bothered doing that. I'm not sure if that's better or worse. My brain always has thought start here. But yeah, you could do the circle in either direction, couldn't you? My brain just always thinks of the nettle as the starting spot, though. But I guess you could do it in either direction, couldn't you? I never actually thought of doing that somehow. Not sure why. I just always think of the nettle as the starting spot. But yeah, the circle you could do either way. I'm not sure which one's more efficient. It really depends where the tiles end up landing. Because going through nettle room might actually be better going through the other side. I just can't be bothered. I just considered the nettle room the starting room. Even if I lose a second because of the tiles, I can't not start there. That's the starting room. How can you go the other way? But yeah, you could go the other way. And the pathing's probably even better for the other way by like 1 or 2 ticks. Because we're definitely losing like 3 tiles the way we're going if we don't manually click. Which is a lot more annoying than just clicking on everything in the room. But doing it the other circle, or, you know, counterclockwise. Actually, is that counterclockwise? No, doing it clockwise instead of counterclockwise might save a tile or two. I don't know, should I go test it? I guess we can go test it right now. I'm gonna go try it at least once before we go back to the other area. Let's see if clockwise is better than counterclockwise. I'm going to make a bet it probably is. I just have never been bothered. But, we'll go try counterclockwise, I guess. I mean, clockwise, I mean. We've been doing counterclockwise. We do have to wait for it to spawn, though, which is going to be a little inefficient. But obviously, if you were doing it over and over again the other way, you wouldn't have to wait. We just have to wait because we're switching from counterclockwise to clockwise. But, let's go try it. If you get spawned sometime today. Sometime today. Should have waited. I thought this was about to be it. Cancel that. We'll waste the 2 silver, it's fine. I just want to see if the thing stops right at the 2 bone spike, which it should. You can spawn today. Hello? Femur? Or whatever spawns here. There we go. Up, I'm on the tile. Let's see what this loop is like. The main thing I want to pay attention to is how Nettle looks. I also gotta remember to use this double later rather than now. I guess you could use it now if you really want a slightly more femur. What would be the route going into here? We'd still take the same bone order, just in reverse. So we'd go here, here, here. This one you would still take early, though. Oh, but then that ends you over there. Oh, no, I guess you kind of have to, though. This room feels less efficient coming from this side. But the main one I want to do is Nettle plus the other one to see. Because taking that one lower one's kind of awkward from this side. Whereas when you come out of this room, you're already there, so it doesn't really matter as much. Guess you could just do it in full inverse, in a sense. Oh, I somehow canceled the thing. Also, this first ram horn is the one we have to double. But the main moment of truth is when we go into the other room. I want to see what the pathing is. Because our other pathing wastes 3 tiles if you just manual click everything. I mean, if you just auto click everything. Or, you know, if you click on everything in the room, you'll lose 3 tiles. Let's see if we lose any tiles from doing it here, because it looks like you don't. Because we do this. Oh, you still have to manual click once. Just waste a tile if you don't manual, because it's going to move you there. This one you can just click. This one, yeah, you still lose the tiles, because you got to manual click here, too. Yeah, it doesn't matter what way you take it, you're losing tiles. Oh yeah, and, oh wow, that's even worse over there. Oh yeah, 100% we do it the way we have been. Not only do you lose the same amount of tiles doing the click on everything, but you actually lose even more if you let that auto you right there. So yeah, it's counterclockwise is better. The way we were doing it the whole time is fine. You lose even more tiles doing it clockwise. So just do it counterclockwise. Start from the Nettle room and work your way around that way. So the way that we've been doing it the whole time is does look like it's a little better. Unless you're going to be manual clicking, in which case they're both about the same, if not literally the same. But the autos for clockwise is way worse than the counterclockwise. But anyways, let's go back to the beach. I'll finish the final level on the beach then. But yeah, overall, this loop is fine to do for XP. It really comes down to, do you want bones or do you not want bones? Or if you really need more Nettle for some reason. But the problem with Nettle is you're normally bottlenecked by rack, not by Nettle. Like, you're pretty much never going to run out of Nettle in the current state of the game. It's always going to be rack that you're going to run out of. Alright, let me go get her set up for our next forager route, and then we'll just go spam it down. Oh, so is there anything we haven't touched yet? There's 2 things we haven't done. What are they? Oh, there's the 2 passes we skipped. Oh, I should have done them when I was in that area. Could have claimed the first time XP before we tullied. Oh, not too big a deal. Yeah, otherwise we've done everything in tier 7. I guess we'll do that before we get our level low. But I'm not going to do that, like, right now. But I will do that before we get our level. But yeah, nothing of when it comes to the pick up shell from beach skill, nothing beats pick up shell from beach. It is by far the best way to increase the pick up shell from beach skill, which makes sense. But yeah, the bone zone doesn't really beat it out, which I wasn't expecting it to, but it's not that much worse. But if you're doing the bone zone, you're doing it almost entirely because you want the bones. It's about 10% worse at absolute best. Alright, now our set should be correctly aligned. I'm gonna have to bank a weird inventory here, but we should be on cycle now. So everything should be normal. And now we can just go through as if this is a start of a set. Testing for fun! Now that's a good name. Testing for fun #1. Yep, a new player trying out the game. He made it to 95, he's almost at level 100. There's no way he doesn't go to at least 100. Oh yeah, speaking of which, I know what the title for tomorrow's stream is. Level 5,500! We're gonna get it tomorrow. Obviously. That's gonna be so free. That's not gonna be the only goal of tomorrow, otherwise we'll get it within like a few hours again. Like today. The main goal for tomorrow is to get probably however many pondweed I get off stream. Assuming I can get a ton off stream today, which I should be able to. That's probably going to be my goal for tomorrow. Obviously, it'll be hitting 5,500. That'll be the title card. But our actual goal is to get how many bell plants we got of pondweed. So if I get, let's say, hypothetically, I don't know, 2,000 pondweed before next stream. Maybe that's pretty ambitious. Let's say 1,000 or so, or more. The goal of next stream would be to equal our bell plant to pondweed, if not even more. I might also have to do some pondweed just because this is the pondweed. Like, these are the pondweed and the bell plants that make the best enrage potion in the game. Because it's not the highest tier one, it's the one below highest tier that's the best. Which is tier 8. It is the only thing in all of tier 8 where we care about it more than tier 9. By a very large margin. Or at least in the current balance of the game. And because of that, we are going to do a lot of pondweed and bell plant. Like a lot. Like, we might not stop doing it until Tuesday. Like, tomorrow and Monday are very likely to be pondweed, bell plant days. Like, bare minimum, I kind of want 5,000 of both, honestly. I think we're skipping the healing potion and just going all in till, like, our enrage stack gets us to 15. Like, there's a non-zero chance I'm doing pondweed and bell plant to 15. Because obviously we'd be skipping periwinkle, we'd be skipping shark jaw. We generally skip kelp at this level range because you need the shell for it to be worth it. At bare minimum at 15. Because kelp only is kind of meh. Also, I forgot to drop the jades. But the only thing in that area that kind of worth going for is wall plant. But it's only worth it with combat synergy. And I'd rather just have the 52% heals. I'd rather do it more in tier 9 and just do it less in tier 8. Since I'll be needing to do just less of pondweed and the other thing in tier 9 anyways. So it kind of works out. So I'm going really low on wall plant. I might even go none. Like, other than first time bonus, obviously. Maybe get like a few hundred. But we're going almost no wall plant for tier 8. But absurdly heavy into pondweed and bell plant. More so than any other tier. Like, there's a good chance I will have more tier 8 pondweed and bell plant than every other tier combined. I don't think that's an exaggeration either. I think it actually will. It probably won't be higher, but it'll be very close to more pondweed and bell plant than all the others combined. Just from one tier. But we need that for AF King in the future. 9-minute AFK is very, 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 very absurdly good. And even if they were to fix it to make 10-minute better, or, you know, fix the ground timer or something, like, 9 minutes still good. Like, obviously it's 1 minute less than 10, but even if they did, like, fix the 10-minute potion, like, 9 minutes are still 9 minutes. It's only 1 minute less. Like, they're still absurdly good. So even if they were to rework it, 9 minutes are still insane. And if they don't rework it, then they're best in slot. Wait, even if they do, it's only a 1 minute difference. It's not that big a deal. If anything, that can be beneficial for us to reapply a luck potion, as I might be using lower tier luck potions. So if we're using a 9-minute, it would give us the ability to use a luck potion 1 minute earlier to reapply it. So I'm perfectly happy just using 9 minutes rather than 10, even if they fix 10s. The other thing to consider too is one really weird thing with enrage potions is theoretically the lowest tier enrage potion is the strongest one. Not because it is the most AFK, which is generally the thing that you care about it. So they're not actually the strongest. However, theoretically, if you were just chugging the 3-minute enrages compared to, I don't know, 9 or 10-minute enrage, the one benefit of that is, I believe the final kill that you do on the enraged enemy, or, you know, on the enemy that you're killing, does not reduce your knowledge points. So you would technically get ever so slightly more knowledge per hour drinking the 3 minutes than you would like a 9 or 10 minute. Is that worth doing? No, because obviously the whole reason you're using an enrage potion is to make it AFK. And 3 minutes is substantially less AFK than, you know, something that's 3 times longer. However, technically, 3 minutes is more knowledge per hour. It's such a minuscule difference, though, that it's not worth doing it that way, obviously. The whole reason you're doing it is to AFK, and they're really not that AFK at all. At that point, you're basically just doing a raid den from Detective if you're only using the 3-minute enrage. But it does allow you to claim the full knowledge for 3 times as many kills. But it's not worth it for how much less AFK they are, though, of course. But there's one funny caveat that technically happens with it since they have a knowledge nerf tied to them. As the knowledge nerf does not apply if the enrage potion ends. And obviously the rage potion ends a lot more often on lower tier potions compared to the higher tier ones. But I guess you also have to account for the drinking time and everything, so... Ultimately, obviously, the higher ones are better, with 9 minutes just being the most optimal with the 10-minute ground timer, just so nothing despawns. But long story short, we're getting a lot of 9-minute enrage. They're just the best at the moment, and even if they fix 10 minutes, it's still worth doing 9s. Just because the disparity between a 9 and 10 is so small anyways. Plus, it'll align better with our luck potion, as we will probably have really low tier luck potion. Realistically, at any given time, I'll be using a tier 3 or a tier 5 luck potion. Or I guess tier 4. Wait, did we get it? Yeah, it would be either tier 5. So if I was to drink luck potions, these are going to be tier 3 because I have some banked from ages ago. You know, the resource, not the actual potion. But it's either going to be tier 3s or tier 5s, which do not last for a particularly long amount of time. So a 9-minute enrage would work a little bit better with them than a 10-minute. Regardless of which one we drink, the luck potion would run out before the AFK timer would, though. That's fine. Like, we don't have to be lucked up for every kill we do. It'd be nice if we were. It's just not practical, too, with enrage potions. Unless you're using, like, a perfectly leveled one that will always do it. There's one thing to keep in mind. Is I don't think... Or it definitely doesn't always do it. But I don't think a tier 9 luck potion would always align with a 10-minute AFK. It might. It might not. But I don't think that's guaranteed necessarily. Based on a lot of factors that could change it slightly. Yeah, that's one thing that's a little bit weird with the luck charges compared to enrage charge kind of situation. Is that most level ranges, depending on a lot of factors, they tend to not perfectly align. It's a problem that they kind of have together. Where it's very beneficial to use them both together, but they generally never align at the same tier. Like using a, I don't know, tier 6 in rage with a tier 6 luck. Like, that's not going to perfectly align. You're going to have, like, weird offsets where you're going to either have spear charges or not enough charges. Assuming you were to drink both. Like, you know, if you were to drink a luck potion and then drink an enrage and then use up the entire rage and drink a luck and an enrage. Like, that specifically doesn't always align at each tier. Just because of how much variable there is between your gear, what you're fighting, everything else. But also because the lower tier ones have better ratio in that regard. Because the very lowest tier one is 5 charges for 3 minutes. So you're getting over 1 charge per minute. Well, I guess you're always at a 1 charge per minute, but the ratio of how much it is like a 1.6. Whereas by the end, it's a 1.3. So the ratio of how much luck you have compared to how much enrage you have is different. Is at lowest tier, you have a 1.6 repeating. And then the other one's a 1.3 repeating, if I did quick math correctly. As far as like, oh, sorry, it would just be 1.3 flat, actually. But at tier 2, if you were to use both at tier 2... Oh, wait, no, I just realized. Do you get enrage at tier 1? No, they're both at tier 2. Okay, yeah, they both align that way, if nothing else. Oh, wait, I forgot, it's 6 charges. I thought the lowest tiered one was 5. I think it was in the beta, but they changed it to 6. Never mind. So you have a 2.0 ratio then. So at the lowest tier, it's a 2.0, and then at the highest tier, it's a 1.3. It's the big issue that Enraged to Luck tends to have. Is their alignment is all over the place. Where it's a 2 to 1 at the lowest range, and then it's a 1.3 to 1 at the highest range. It's really weird. Because they don't perfectly align with each other, so it's all over the place at every level range. As far as when you have to drink them, how long it'll last, so on and so forth. You would think that they would be more uniform, but yeah, they're very much not. Not even close. Alright, we're almost at our next level, then there's 1 level to go. At this point, the rest of this grind shouldn't take more than about an hour. Which means by about 4:30 my time, we should be done. And then we bring him to the tier 8 passive. Unfortunately, the material's pretty bad. But the XP is insane. It's like 30% better than the scrap metal. Sorry, scrap metal, we did you for a while. I did almost all of it, though. I think we used 90% of our scrap metal. I think there's like 11 or 12% left on this timer. And that reminds me, where's that one guy that has a name that begins with S? We were at like the exact same forager level the other day. I wonder if I could find him just by going to my forager level, actually. If I go here and click on forager, can I see him? Because I haven't seen him today. Where's that one S name? Shuno. Yeah, Shuno, we were even the other day. So since we did so little yesterday, he's caught up, or he's passed us by quite a bit. Oh, there he is. Oh, there he is. But yeah, Shuno's at tier 6 now. We were the other day both at the exact same level. But since we didn't play as much yesterday, he's beaten us by bare minimum 8 levels right now. Which means he's been on the grind then. That means he gained like over 10 levels yesterday then. Like that means he went for almost 12 hours yesterday just training Forager. Like at least 10. We were perfectly even the other day. And now he's 8 up. Though we did play pretty minimally yesterday, though. I got a lot busier than I was expecting. I got a lot of stuff done, so. Because ultimately, I only played like for like a few hours the other day. And the rest was just passive off of scrap metal. Okay, did I ever mention the dates of the thing? I can't remember if I did. But yeah, the days that we're going to be gone is going to be from May 24th to August 18th. Unless the flight somehow gets changed on their end. But otherwise, May 24th to August 18th we will be gone. And hopefully, this game works in Greece. And if not, we'll just use a VPN somehow. Figure out how that works on Steam Deck. Because we'll still be doing our passes while we're gone and everything. We just won't be, you know, streaming or covering any new content during the time. But of course, we'll do a bunch of stuff afterwards. I'm just really hoping that dungeons don't come out during that time. It's fine if the dungeon beta does, but I hope like the actual dungeon update doesn't. That's being very ambitious to think that they'll actually release dungeons in the next few months. That is very ambitious to even have the thought that they would release dungeons in 3 to 6 months from now. That is very ambitious thinking, so we'll probably be fine. Realistically, at the rate they've been releasing content, we're probably fine. The amount of doubt that dungeons would be released in 3 to 6 months is very high. It's not to say it couldn't happen, but I think we're safe in it not happening. It could happen, though. But based on current rate, we have a really good chance it doesn't. Which will be very beneficial for us. Oh, that guy's actually starting that quest. I hope he knows he has no chance of finishing that quest. Not sure if the quests say that at the beginning anymore or not, but, or if they've added that. But there is 0 chance that guy finishes that quest. He's level 18, and it requires, like, 60-something fishing. And I think some other requirement, too, but the fishing one was, like, the really big one. I think I also need, like, Forager and some other stuff. Like, the level requirement for that quest is, like, 10x his current level. Like, total level. And very specific skills that he might not train exactly so. There are a good handful of quests in this game that you can start without the requirement, though. And then partway through, it's like, oh yeah, I have no way of doing this. Requires, like, 60-something. I have, like, 5 or 10 or whatever they're at. I do feel like they should code some quests to not let you start them unless you have the requirement, just so people don't go like midway through and have that happen. The only problem with that is some of them lock rewards behind them that require partial completion that you can currently get done without having the stats. The main one is I can think of is the one in Mines of Batubin. That unlocks a whole new area, but it has no requirement to unlock that whole new area. The only thing you had to do was complete the main storyline in the area. But you don't need to have any of the skill requirements to finish the quest to unlock the area and the teleporter and everything. Actually, now that I think about it, I think it might be the only quest in the game where you unlock a teleporter that does not require full completion of the quest. But he's even forgotten things at launch. It requires full completion to unlock the teleporter. That one 3-star quest in Mines of Batubin, I think is the only one in the game where you get a teleporter. But full completion or any requirement at all of the quest is not required to get the teleporter. It's just simply there. Because everything else in the game, you get the teleporter all the way at the end of the quest, which means you have to have met every skill requirement to have unlocked it. But there's only one quest that is not like that. And it is... Oh yeah, I forgot. We gotta grab the things in 1 hour. I guess we gotta go for 1 hour regardless even if we get our level. We gotta do the lobsters on stream. It's not that big a deal, but we're probably gonna go about that long anyway, so it kind of works out. But, yeah, Matubin's Legacy is the only quest in the game where you don't need any of these requirements to unlock the teleporter. Whereas every other thing that has a teleporter, like Forgotten Things, you have to meet every requirement to get the teleporter. On Matubin's Legacy, you do not need to do any combat, you do not need to do any mining, and you do not need to do any blacksmith in order to unlock the teleporter. To finish the quest, obviously you do, and to unlock blast mining and stuff like that. But to get the teleporter, this is the only quest in the game that has a teleporter where 0 skill requirements need to be met to get the teleporter. Because every other one that you need it for, missing fisherman, you gotta finish the quest. You need the 60-something fishing, whatever, something forager, all that in order to finish it. Actually, we see right here if we hover. You need all those milestone levels. You need all that to finish the quest. Oops, I forgot to use the XP pot here. Also forgot to drop Jade. Forgetting everything. But yeah, you need to go and finish the full quest to get that. What other ones? Let's see. So, you gotta finish fully Fisherman to be able to do it, to get the teleporter. For Forgotten Things teleporter, you gotta finish the quest, because the mist room doesn't let you in until you kill the guy. What are the other ones? Blight of Spores, you got to kill the boss all the way at the end, so you need both the botanist and the combat, as well as killing the boss. Don't technically need that exact combat level, but you need to be able to kill the boss. And, what was the other one? What other thing gives the teleporter? Oh yeah, Lost and Found. No, not Lost and Found. Maintenance Crew. And Maintenance Crew, once again, you have to meet every requirement before you get access to the teleporter, as it's the very last thing of the quest. It almost feels like it's tacked on, but you have to do like one extra mission all the way at the end that gives you the teleporter. It feels really weirdly placed in the quest, as if they did it just to give you a teleporter there. However, yeah, you do have to complete out the whole quest to get there. So yeah, it's only Matubin's Legacy. It's the only quest in the game where 0 requirements are needed to be met to get the teleporter. Though it is not the only quest that unlocks a zone from partial completion. For example, even though you don't get the teleporter from Forgotten Things, you get the zone related to the area with partial completion. So if you wanted to fight Bramblelifts, you only need partial completion of Forgotten Things. I'm not sure how that works with the resource, though. I think you might need to fully complete it for the resource. But specifically for Brambles, if you wanted to fight Brambles, you can fight them in that area without ever unlocking or finishing the quest. So there are other quests that are like Matubin's Legacy where you unlock things for partial completion. Most notably, like the Battle of Fortune Hold unlocks one of the best shortcuts for, or actually the only shortcut related to Merchant, for Merchant, as the rest are locked behind Detective. It's a pretty decent shortcut as well for some routes. But you don't need to do the whole quest to do it. You do still need the Merchant level requirement, which is 55, or Milestone 1 level 5. But you do not need anything beyond that. Like, you don't need to meet any other requirement, and you don't need to finish the quest to get what is basically the end quest reward for the quest, which is the shortcut for Merchant. So even though Matubin's Legacy is the only one where you get a teleporter without completing the quest, there are other quests where you get rewards for partial completion. The dog's going crazy. Someone just got home. I'll stop soon. He just likes being excited whenever anyone shows up. Not sure if it's coming through the mic. It stopped now, though. Alright, 1 level to go. 1 level to go. Also, I gotta remember near the end, I gotta save 1 knowledge point for the actual passive. Just so we don't have to use a knowledge potion. It would just be a waste at that point. But yeah, we'll easily be able to get that done in 56 minutes then. So our game plan at this point is keep doing this until we get a level. Make sure we have 1 excess knowledge points. If we have some spare time, maybe we'll go through a set of cooking bounties or something. Who knows? Maybe even do some merchant runs. Get out of this chapter for once. Because the only issue with this grind is we've basically been locked to Hopeport. Like, obviously we could do other stuff, but the last few weeks, like 3 weeks in particular, especially since fishing bounties came out, we've pretty much been locked to this chapter. That'll change a little bit with smithing bounties in 2 Mondays from now. Or this upcoming Monday does something substantial in another chapter that we might want to mess around with. But yeah, we've been really stuck in chapter 1 lately. Because my normal gameplay loop tends to, you know, go all over the place. Which is the only weird thing about doing Monument Month is, you were just basically locked to chapter 1, effectively. It feels really weird compared to our normal gameplay where we hop, like, all over the place. Normally. It's like doing a variety of things rather than the same thing over and over normally. If I can help it. But obviously for Monument Grind, if we're just grinding it down over a month, yeah, we kind of can't. But yeah, we're almost there. At this point, we're like 3 weeks away from finishing it. Maybe 2. It really comes down to how curvy does the curve. And we'll find out some at tier 8 and even further, but the main thing I'm really surprised by is we got to see the monument number. And we only needed 590 stone. That is way less than expected. Because the previous tier required about 500. I was expecting tier 8 to require like 800 plus. I even said if it was like anything under like 800, I'd be surprised. And it was 590. It's under 600. Which, is tier 8 going to be that much slower then? Because I feel like the answer is yes, but based on the monument number, the answer is like, yeah, maybe like 15% slower, but not that much slower. Like, it is not that much slower at all. Maybe tier 9 will jump over 1,000? But if tier 9 says something like 700 or 800, it's like, yeah, that barely moved. I don't know, I'll find out when we get there. Maybe 15% will feel that bad. But from what I can tell, yeah, if we were to do it based on just Monument, it's only about like 16, 17% slower. If we were to do it just based on Monument number. It's somewhere from like 15 to 20% slower tier 8 compared to tier 7. Like, that's slower, but it's not as much slower as I anticipated it to be. If that does happen to be the case. Obviously, we're just using an arbitrary Monument number to kind of figure it out. I don't know, we'll see how it is once we actually get there. But it shouldn't, if the Monument number is anything to go by, it shouldn't be more than 20% slower. Which is still a lot, obviously, but it's not that much. When you compare it to, you know, what level 200 was before, where you had to go 4 times longer. 20% compared to 4 times, or effectively 0.2, is very small compared to 4x. It's a lot smoother of a curve, that's for sure. Even if it is jumping a little. It is still way smoother than 4x, that's for sure. Like, even if tier 9 was twice as hard as tier 8, which it might happen. But even if, hypothetically, tier 9 is twice as hard as tier 8, that is still less of a curve than it was before. As far as how much it jumped up by. So even in a 2x scenario, it is still better than before. The only thing that's really weird is knowledge points are a lot weaker. But passive seems to be just as strong, especially at this level range. Because right now I need 17 knowledge points for 1 level, which is way worse than the 16 we already needed. And 8 and 9 and tier 8 and 9 are likely just going to get worse. Tier 8 might require almost like 18, 19, 20. Whereas there's no way that tier 9 requires less than like 20. I wouldn't even be surprised if you need 24 knowledge points for 1 level. Which, if that is the case, oh, that's going to be a nightmare. That's already 33% worse than where we're at right now. Or, sorry, 50%. Well, 33% compared to where the number is one of those weird situations. Depending on which way you want to do the percent. But it'd be 33% worse compared to if you went down, or 50% if you're taking the difference of the two. So let's say 50%. It's 50% worse than now. Which is not a small bit. Alright, 3/4 of a level to go. At this point, this is pretty much our timer for how much longer the stream will be. We'll go until Lobster Venture's ready. Because by then we'll hit our Forager grind, or goal. And by then I should also have the Spirit Knowledge point. It depends where the knowledge point aligns, but at most we'd have to grind for like 15-20 minutes for a knowledge point. Probably closer to 15. Like if we hypothetically used one at the end because I forgot. Which should align pretty perfectly with our lobster cage even if I forget about it. And then tomorrow's grind will be the beginning of tier 8. There's going to be a lot of pondweed and a lot of bell plant. I might also try routing bell plant in a way that we don't take any fish. Just because we're getting to the point in Forager where I really got to be taking Forager only. And I've already grabbed enough in the past to kind of already have some for later. So I think we are going to grab no fish and see what kind of loop we can make out of it. The only problem with that is there's nothing else to grab. So I'm not sure how we're going to do that. It's going to be very similar to rack, which is not ideal. Where all we're doing is grabbing bell plant 3 times, with all the doubles where applicable, and then just grab the double bone spike on our way out. Or even triple bone spike if we really want to offset it a little bit better. But that's likely going to be it. Where we take 3 sets of bell plant, bone spike offset, and repeat that. So the only difference between it and rack would be we'd be taking some bone spikes in between. That's the only problem with dropping salmon. As there will be a specific instance in it where we will have downtime. Where we're doing nothing. Because there's just nothing else to grab nearby, unfortunately. It's pretty isolated. Oh, there's 23. There's 11%'s getting really low. Oh no. Gotta remember to go do that between all of our pondweed later. When I go semi AFK pondweed after the stream. I really gotta go make an hour of 11% at some point today. Later today, off stream. Because we're gonna run out by tomorrow if I don't. Might even run out by later today. Like off stream later today. So 100% we gotta go make them soon. Alright, next set we'll use an 11%. Get our knowledge point in there. I think we'll only need 2 more. Well, technically 3 because I need 1 for the passive. I guess at that point it would be 4, right? Because this 1 and then 3 more. 2 more into actual XP and then the final 1 into passive. So I just realized something. Shuno's still doing this route even at the level range he's at. Because right now he only has the rack upgrade. He doesn't have show upgrade. Unless it hasn't updated in so long that he's gained 9 levels since this thing is updated. But assuming that has updated somewhat recently, he's doing this cycle off of just kelp. I don't think I would bother doing that. I'd rather get the synergy with everything else to go get the other supplies. Especially for when we need the enrage potions. It just feels so not worth it until you get that show upgrade again. But I guess that technically still would be your best XP rate. Like it's better than him taking bell plants. Oh, I forgot to drink XP. Oh, so I need to drink better XP. There we go. I guess he doesn't care about the other supplies. Well, I was not sure if he's doing drop method or not. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it is max alchemy, so I think he's just doing drop method. Which allows you to do a lot of things. If you were to. That we don't have access to. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, he's max alchemy, so he doesn't actually care about a lot of supplies. Maybe at tier 9 he'll bank them, but everything prior he doesn't really need to worry about too much. Because based on the routing I've seen him do in the past, it seems like he's doing drop method most of the time, if not always. Other than for monument pieces. Fishing timer says 45 minutes. We're almost there. Even once we get the forager level, we'll still keep going for that. We'll do some pondweed or something. Most of the grind we'll be doing off stream for pondweed, but like it normally happens. I think there was only 1 level range where we really grinded it some on stream. But this is definitely a pondweed off stream angle for the most part. We'll go until that timer, but beyond that, for some pondweed, but beyond that, I'll be doing like 5 to 10 hours of it off stream, most likely. And even then, that's not gonna be enough. Which is kind of crazy, but it's probably gonna be the case. Oh wait, what am I forgot to go do the loop, and now I'm in like such a weird cycle right now. Oh no. Alright, let me just reset the cycle. My brain just stopped braining. I didn't bother going the other way for the set. Or use the XP potion in between the thing. The grind's getting to us. I skipped over like half the loop. I'll just reset and start it from the top. My cup still spawned on time at least. And at this point, one more knowledge point will put us at the halfway mark. And the rest should be pretty smooth over the next 30 minutes. And then we just gotta kill like 10 until lobster's ready. Which we'll probably just do a little bit of the pondweed loop or something. So we'll be doing like a billion times off stream. Probably the rest of today in the background, I'm just gonna keep clicking on pondweed all day. And just do it really somewhat AFK. Because it beats the current passive we'd have by quite a bit of XP if I just keep clicking it here and there. Even if I'm not like mega actively doing it. As long as we don't hit like the 5-minute AFK timer thing that kicks us out of the game. As long as I click more often than, you know, 5 minutes, we should be fine. And it should be more XP than just doing passive as well. And we're getting the thing we need. And the best part is it lets us do AFK in the future as well, but for combat. Which is huge. Which is kind of funny because it's a somewhat AFK method that also gives you AFK supplies. It's actually kind of nice compared to something like, let's compare it to Old School RuneScape. Old School RuneScape's combat AFK potion, you know, the exact same thing that Enrage does basically in Brighter Shores. It requires you to do a very, very exceedingly active method, which is not ideal. Because you got to do a very active method in order to be paid off with a passive method. But in Brighter Shores, they're both pretty AFK, which is nice. So you could do something that's partially AFK into something else that's partially AFK. Which makes more logical sense for Brighter Shores. I just realized I still have the 1-minute passives from earlier. This is from when I was running scrap metal yesterday and I didn't bother getting the final level. They're cheap enough that it's like, I might as well. Because we only had 44 at the time. I've actually still not removed them. Next potion we'll need there is probably Fear. But I'll keep that there for now because we might need a +1 or +2 sometime in the near future. Most likely Sunday night into Monday is the main time we'll need one, though. It'll probably be a +2. Because ideally what we want to do is have, oh, we're not going to be able to, though. Wait, what's the passive at, Oh, yeah, we'll be fine. The only thing I could see us doing is maybe at level, level 13, we'd +2 boost to the other Moth one. Because they're both good at that level range. Both the level 10 and the 15. So I guess it really depends what level we're at by tomorrow. Because I feel like we can get to Feather manually. It depends how slow 8 is, though. But worst case scenario, we would have to get to 8 tomorrow and then do a +2 to get to Feather. But I feel like we'd have more XP by then. I don't know, we'll find out. But otherwise, I'm not going to need a +1 or a +2 tomorrow. It really just comes down to, do we get to level 10 or not? And I feel like we can. It's more of an ambitious goal than today, but it should be still really doable. Especially since off-stream today I'll be gaining levels. Because there's a good chance we'll be starting tomorrow with like already 3, 4, 5 Forager. So getting to 10 is, you know, from there is not that bad. Though I say that, 7 levels is not particularly quick, especially at that level range with what options we have. Because there's a good chance we'll be getting less than 1 level per hour. Not just because tier 8 is likely less than 1 level per hour, but also because the activity we'd be doing is quite a bit worse than what we're doing now. But I need the material, so we kind of have to do it. It shouldn't be that much worse, though, because we do get a bit of an XP burst right at the beginning of this set. That should help it quite a bit. Oh, so these poor cod over here. I was going to catch them a little bit more, but we're basically just completely ditching fishing while doing this grind. We're at such a good level range to go grab them. The ventures are just so strong, though. Like the one we'll be taking in like 30 minutes. I would honestly not be surprised if they nerfed them again like last week's Tuesday. I'm hoping they don't. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Especially just thinking about how strong it'd be when he had like 6 venture slots eventually. Which could be a while. There's only 3 available in the game right now. With the 3rd one being so important that we're going out of our way to grind for an entire month just to go get it. After that, we will be slowing down a bit again, though. It's just so important to get this in a long term. Like, every single year, it's literally dozens of levels that you'll be getting from your venture. Like, it pays for itself pretty much immediately in that regard. Because you're already going to need to get that Forager level eventually anyways. So it's basically just a free few dozen levels a year. For what will only take, like, 5 hours over the course of a year to do one single extra venture. Like if you were to count 365 days, how much time you would use for one venture. It's roughly 5-ish hours, I would say. But in those 5 hours, you'd be gaining like anywhere from 7 to 15 levels an hour. Per effective hour, obviously, not per day. Since you can't just grind ventures. But you know what I mean. Like per effective hour, you would gain several levels depending on what you're doing. And over the course of the year, you would end up doing that for several effective hours. Which, yes, it will still take several hours of input, but the amount of levels you'd be gaining within that time is through the roof compared to any other training method relative to time spent. Unfortunately, only some skills have ventures, though. The most notable ones being fishing and merchant, though there are a few others. Their ventures just aren't as good. But fishing and merchant are basically just free 500s in the current state of the game with the venture system. It might take a little while to cash in on that free double max level, but they both are pretty much auto max just off of venture. And merchants is so quick anyways, so in combination it's just even quicker. As the venture's boosted up like crazy, but also actively training, it's the quickest skill in the game. I guess that's almost a slight downside of the venture specifically for merchant though, is the skill is already so quick that the ventures are technically worse for merchant in the sense that the value isn't as good. That's why I've been running mostly double fishing one. Though in order to offset alchemy, I will eventually be running double merchant into cinnamon stick grape plus 1 in chapter 1. The other alternative to that is keep alternating them and just keep remembering, which I might honestly just do. It's just when we eventually max fishing, then we have a problem, because then I can't run fishing ventures anymore. We'd obviously want to switch to something that would get XP from it. And it's the only reason I kind of want to not run double of fishing once we get our third. As I'm overly concerned we're going to max our fishing level too quick. I don't know, we'll do it here and there, we'll see. I guess it also depends what we're at a given time as well. But then again, in total you'd still get the same amount. Because regardless if I do 1 or 2, if I need to do 25 levels of something, it doesn't matter if I'm doing 1 or 2. If we have to do 25 levels through that method only, we would get the exact same amount. So it wouldn't really matter if I do 1 and 2 in that regard. As if that's your only training method, you know, you'll get the same amount regardless. Doesn't matter if we're doing 1 venture or 2 venture of it, you would still end up getting the exact same amount total if that is the only training method you're doing. The main benefit of doing a double in a chapter is you can use 1 XP pot to boost them both. So you can like double dip it. But chapter 1 is a chapter we're going to have a way excess in XP pots in. Due to Forager and, you know, the main gameplay loop just giving you these shells that constantly keep giving you XP pots. So out of any chapter where we don't care as much if we're using 1 potion for 1 buff instead of 1 potion for 2 buff, it would be chapter 1. So yeah, I think I have convinced myself that we would do grape plus cinnamon stick into only 1 from chapter 1. I think we'd end up doing it that way. As the only thing we're really getting from fishing venture is cooking supplies that we're going to use in like several years from now. Whereas everything we get from merchant, I would actually be using probably by September or November of this year. I mean, September, October, I mean. Like around that time, unless things drastically change in-game wise. Assuming I have time, you know, IRL as well. But around that time is probably around the time we do like an alchemy month or something. Or at least some form of alchemy push for at least a week, if nothing else. Maybe not a whole month. Because after you use this Forager for about a month, it does feel a little overkill. But we definitely got to get like an alchemy weekend sometime in like late September, mid-September or so. Whenever I have time that month, around that time. Because we should have pretty much everything aligned to go get max alchemy. And we'll just poke it 1 week at a time, doing like a whole tier. Where we focus on doing 1 full tier per week whenever we do it. Which by then I would likely be close to 7 alchemy, so it'd be the 7 to 8 tier we'd end up doing. Hello, Don! Welcome, 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 hope all's been well. Oh, Shuno, are you Shuno in game? Nice. Yeah, this loop is really good. We were doing a bunch of calculations on it earlier. As far as how to modify it to still get more XP while banking and everything. And this was the best we could come up with that doesn't require a triple loop or some weird like double respawn pickup. Also, are you dropping everything? Because based on your pathing, it seems like you're dropping. Because you have max alchemy, which makes sense. Because I'm banking everything because we need to go get max alchemy later down the line. But I'm banking literally everything. Because I needed to go train alchemy with in a couple months. Probably in like September or October or so. Yeah, you're banking the final tier for all the higher stuff. Yeah, that makes sense. I did drop some when we were at like tier 4 and 5. Right, everything tier 6 and upwards I've been banking. Like 100% of it. Except those 2 jade pieces we keep picking up, but this is because they're good XP for this current route. And also because I need some time for these to respawn. But yeah, tier 9, I think my routing is going to be a little bit different because there's a lot more supplies I want. Like on tier 8, my routing is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to be doing a ton of pondweed and bell plant. Because I want the 9-minute AFKs since they're better than 10-minute due to the AFK timer. Or due to the 10-minute ground timer, I mean. So I want a bunch of 9 minutes for those. So that would be the biggest difference on 8 is pretty much the entire start of 8. I'm just going to be doing pondweed and bell plant all the way to like 15. And then we'd obviously come back here for shell and everything. But that and tier 9 is probably going to have a little bit of a different distribution just because there's some things I want to go and end up getting that we wouldn't otherwise get on this loop. Some of them we'll be able to get from combat later, like wall plant from doing combat on Death Crow. And the water lily from doing combat on Hair Beast. Which also gives some more pondweed for the AFK potion as well. But aside from that, I probably was going to go for the really annoying rack into Nettle. Well, the Nettle's not annoying, the rack is. Because they're really good XP around that level range. And probably a few other weird things I want to go do for tier 9. Just because it's the final, like, highest possible tier. So the route that we go for some resources could be a little bit different. Just because we will be, you know, utilizing all those potions at some point eventually. And I want to mostly get the things that we won't really route later. Like bones or, rack. A few of the other weird ones like that. Because the main ones we would get after the fact are... Wait, am I under 11% right now? What potion is this? Oh, it's on the 8, okay. Oh, I should have clicked save for later then. Whoops. Yeah, I've tested rack. It's definitely worse than this loop, obviously. But the main benefit of it is the amount of EXP it gives for alchemy. I know you're max alchemy, so that wouldn't matter to you. So racks are kind of useless to you. But their EXP rate is actually insane for about 20-ish, 30-ish levels. Like compared to any other potion. Like you could technically do them all the way. Like if you had trading enabled and someone had to go through like alchemy now, you could literally do this potion from level 16 all the way to like level 43 in the current state of the game and it'd still be good. Especially if you're skipping the botanist grind to do alchemy. Like, you can pretty much do them all the way till 43. Or at least until the Mind of a Tubin potion, and if you're doing some, like, Mind of a Tubin combat. Like, you do them for, like, more than half the skill. And they're not buyable from shops, so you'd have to gather them. It's one of the main reasons I kind of want to gather them. Since we don't have trading enabled, however many we get is the total we ever have. Which is why I kind of want to focus them a little bit more on tier 9 in case fire potions are ever any good. Otherwise, we'd have to backtrack for them later. When we're already maxed. But yeah, there's been several resources that they made only buyable from shops. The only two that I believe are in Forager, or technically 3, but one of them you get pretty easily on some of the routes. But Nettle, Rack, and Sharkjaw. Rack and Nettle is for Fire Potion, and Sharkjaw is for Shields for every class. Most notably Guardian, but making 4-star would be relevant for every class. Those, I believe, the only 3 in all Forager that got no shop buying. So whatever we have at tier 9 that we end up getting by the end of it is our total that we're ever going to have unless we go out of our way for it later. So I kind of just want to go for the wave out of our way for it while we still need the XP. It might be slower XP, but at least we're getting XP compared to if we did it after level 10, or, you know, when we're max, we would get none. So some XP is still better than no XP. Even if it's worse XP than, you know, doing the beach method. Alright, 1/4 a level to go. And then after we get that, we'll kill some time until we can go do our lobster. We'll probably just do a bunch of pond weed since it's in the area anyways. And then we go passive the thing in the other room at level 8 while I go grab dinner. And then off stream, I'll probably be doing a lot of pond weed. That and making the potions because I'm about to run out of 11%. Like any hour now. So I need to go make like a whole hour's worth of those so it lasts us for like a whole week or so. We were running dangerously low. And at this point, next knowledge point, I guess, goes on Forager, and the final knowledge point we'll save for the passive unlock. Just to make sure we have it for when we end the stream. And then off stream, our main goal is just get 1 billion pondweed. And the main reason I care about tier 8 pondweed the most is the ground timer. Ground timer is 10 minutes, so we mostly want to be getting tier 8 ones. Unless they fix this at some point with some quality of life update. But as it currently stands, the 9-minute AFK potion is stronger than the 10-minute one. It's the only potion in all of tier 8 that's stronger than the tier 9. But it's mostly because there's a 10-minute ground timer, and if you use a 10-minute AFK potion, you're going to despawn some loot. Which isn't too big a deal, but you are cutting into your profit per hour if you use 10-minute rather than 9. It's also more expensive if we wanted to buy the secondary ingredient for it if we have a weird number. Like if we have 5,000 of one and 4,000 of the other, it would cost more to make the 10-minute one. And it would be worse and cost more. So it just makes sense to do more of the tier 9. So if we do have a weird ratio, which we will, Bell Plant will be higher than Pondweed. We will ultimately get more Bell Plant than Pondweed, it's just how it aligns. It's just better XP to do Bell Plant. So at every tier, you're always going to have to buy more Pondweed at some point. You can offset it with Here Beasts, though. Here Beasts do drop Pondweed, but it's just really slow. Like, compared to getting, like, almost 300, 400, 500 per hour, whatever it is, you'd be getting, like, 20-ish per hour from killing them. Which is not none, but obviously way slower than gathering it. Like, way, way, way slower. It is more than 0. So when we go and do over our combat for Hopeport, we would be gaining Pondweed. Which I kind of want to do when we go for tier 9 as well. It's something we've actually been neglecting all this grind. I did it a little bit at the beginning, but kind of has stopped recently, is the combat grind. I still want to get 34 levels. Or technically actually closer to 30. Or sorry, 40 I mean. So that we can get our final tier armor. Because you get that at level 20. And then I would need to kill some stuff that's higher level than that. So basically at 20 and then level 6 in that level 20. And then we can go get all of our cooler looking gear. It doesn't look too much more elaborate than what we have now, but you know, it gets a little bit better. And that's the final tier in the current state of the game visually. Which almost looks like what we're using now is the final tier, but tier 5 and 6 just look kind of similar for quite a few things. Like, we'd basically have to be standing and, like, right next to someone who has the final tier to even notice all the differences. I think one of the biggest ones is the gloves get more of a wing on them. Kind of like how the boots have. The boots wing might also get a little bit bigger. The plate body's design is very similar, though. Like, the plate body and legs. Like, they do have some changes, but they are very, very similar. And hey, tomorrow we reach level 5,500. Nice little milestone there. And at some point before the end of the grind, we do reach all 5. The 5555. We'll actually probably have that in about a week. Tomorrow will be the 5,500 then. Alright, so this knowledge point right here will be the last one we consume, and then the other one goes to passive. That makes the bold assumption that we can get a single passive point in like 15 minutes. We should be able to with this loop. Pretty close to it. And if we have to go a little bit longer, it's not that big a deal. But then again, when I get the level, I'm going to need to move over to pondweed, though. Which is less knowledge than this per hour, I believe. No, it'll be fine. I'm still putting this next knowledge point into the thing, just so I can get over to pondweed. We will put it into XP. And then by the time we finish that 11% potion, we should be at pondweed then. And then we can start getting one of the whole reasons why we even did this grind. Like, let's say hypothetically Monument didn't exist, or, you know, the buff to it. One of the few reasons you would train Forager is literally for the next resource we're about to be getting. Those tier 8 pondweed and bell plant. Like, that alone is almost worth the Forager grind. Just for how much AFK combat we could do in the future for literal hundreds of hours. Like, yeah, it'll take us like a dozen or 2 hours to go get it all. But it is measured in hundreds of hours. Let's say, for example, I don't know. Let's say we do it long enough to get 5,000 of both. I'm not sure if we're going that far or exactly what it'll end at. Well, let's say hypothetically it is 5,000. Especially when combining everything else. So what's 5,000 times 9 divided by 60? That is 750 hours of AFK. That is like 1/3 my total playtime. Is how much AFK potion we would have. Potentially just from tier 8 if we spend enough time on it. I'm not sure if we're going that deep though. That might be more so all of them combined rather than just tier 8. Even though we are doing tier 8 a lot. That might be closer to all of the tiers combined. But 750 hours is insanely long. Especially since we can AFK almost 1 level per hour at this level range. We wouldn't be able to forever. But at our current level range, we can AFK almost 1 level an hour, roughly around there. While putting the knowledge into a different skill. Obviously not into combat itself. But that's not too bad. I guess, would that be max combat then? Obviously it curves at some point, so... Let me do some math real quick. What does that come out to? It's the milestone numbers that are really throwing me off. No, that wouldn't be enough to get max combat. But it would be enough to get, like, bare minimum 10 milestones. Even when accounting for XP changes. Like, we can go all the way from 20 to 30 with just the enrage potions. Not counting any of the training. Literally just AFKing. We'd have bare minimum enough to go from 20 to 30. Might even have more than that, but bare minimum. By the time we finish off Forager and all the grinds and everything for it. If we were to consume every enrage potion we would end up getting from it. Bare minimum, we get 500 levels for 10 milestones. At absolute bare minimum. Which is not that bad at all. It's basically the equivalence of if you could completely AFK any skill in this game to max. Kind of like how ventures are for fishing. But it's basically what we're doing for combat. A whole set of 500 levels for combat. Completely AFK. Or at least 9 minutes at a time. Which is pretty much completely AFK. We'll still have to do some inputs every, for about 30 seconds every 9 minutes. But beyond that, you know, it'd be completely AFK otherwise. Like, we'd basically, over the course of an hour, only have to play for, like, not even 6 minutes. Which is not that bad at all. So that's like 90% AFK then. Which unfortunately is not like 99 or something, but, you know, 90% is still pretty high. It's definitely not low. Nine-minute AFKs at a time for 90% total AFK time per hour. There we go! The nice solid 8! I'll still finish out this set while we're doing it, though. And then we'll go over to pondweed. There it is. It looks so clean when you don't see the other numbers next to it as well. Or you just see 8 but don't see any extra number underneath. I hope they never change that. Because it does look really clean. Just the single number there. Because a double 0 underneath it would ruin it. It's trying to show me everything. There it is, the better XP from everything. The AFK we'll be doing later tonight and during dinner. And the pondweed that I will be taking like 1 billion of. So that we can enrage AFK forever. Bare minimum, we got to get 3,000. I kind of want to aim for 5, but we'll see where our levels are by then. But yeah, let's see what the damage is when the XP starts curving here. See how bad it's going to start being. So far, it hasn't yet. That's about how much XP we already needed, but we'll start to see exactly how much more we need per level and everything soonish. Starting tomorrow. Alright, yeah, I'll drink a normal XP pot here. Why not? Alright, let's go head back all the way back to the bank. Bank all this, and yeah, start doing pondweed. The only objectives now is to go get one more knowledge point, so I can actually go do the passive. And wait 12 minutes. Which should be about how long it takes to get that anyways. So pondweed is a little bit slower, so I'm not sure exactly how long it'll take. Might have to do a little bit longer than this timer, but... And then we'll finish out on lobster then. Yeah, we'll start the pondweed now. Most of this grind I will be doing off stream just because it's pretty repetitive. Not like this isn't, but you know what I mean? It's even more so with how the loop works. So I will do like 10 minutes of pondweed now, or you know, until we get to our lobster. But otherwise, most of the grind is going to be off stream. And then tomorrow we'll do bell plant to go get all of our pondweed supplies. Out of curiosity, how many pondweed did we get on previous tier? So if I go check my store drift and I go to withdrawal items and I go to potions and I go to pondweed, only 796. We gotta add a 0 to that this time. No, not that many. But yeah, we do gotta grind quite a bit more than that this time. Bare minimum, we gotta grab like 2,000. Ideally, I want to go even higher than that. But the absolute bare minimum is like 2,000 these things. Oh yeah, how much XP are we getting each? 15k? That's not amazing, but that's not awful. The biggest issue is that there's wait time by the time we take the final one. The wait time on this is not ideal. Hey, that guy's called Weekly Leak, that's funny. Though it's spelled weekly rather than weekly. Like, you know, as in week, but how do I even say that? You know what I'm trying to say. Weak as in not strong, rather than week as in the time of 7 days. I guess someone else had the weekly with the E. That or they don't know it's spelled wrong, which would be funny. Honestly, I feel like you'd be more likely to misspell leak than weak. Because I feel like it's more likely that you would add an A to leak rather than an A to weak. As you use the word weak a lot more than you ever use the word leak. But they're both spelled double E. I think, right? I'm not going crazy. This is making me drive me crazy right now. I'm almost guaranteed they're both spelled with double E. But I feel like if you were to make a mistake on one, you're more likely to spell leak with A than weak with A. Just because weak is way more of a common word than leak. But they both should be double E. Unless I'm losing my mind right now, but they both should be double E. I don't know, doing the forager grind for this long does things to you. But yeah, I basically got to do... one of the reasons why we're doing most of this off stream... Let's say hello. Let's see... There we go. Oh, there we go. But yeah, the main reason I'm going to be doing this mostly off stream is what I just did there, except slightly more AFK. We got to do that 100 more times. At bare minimum. So we're going to be here a while. Obviously on stream right now, we'll do it for about 10 more minutes. But off stream between today and tomorrow, obviously I won't be doing all of that during that time. Because I don't think I can fit 100 laps in of this in that time, but off stream, this will be us. We're just going to be lapping the pondweed until we have like over 2,000 in there. And then tomorrow we're going to try to get that many bell plants. So if I end at like 1,500, we'll try to get 1,500 bell plants tomorrow. Basically, whatever pondweed I get off stream today is how many bell plants we're going to try to do tomorrow, if not more. And then from there, we'll figure out how we want to distribute things. But today, in all my free time, I'll keep clicking on the pondweeds. And then tomorrow on stream, we'll do bell plant to bare minimum, ideally match the pondweed, if not more. And after that, we figure out what we're doing. Because it depends what level range that brings us to and everything, I'm not sure. We'll find out when we get there. But I'm basically skipping everything between this area. I'm skipping kelp. Well, obviously we'll take kelp once we get to the beach, but, you know, I'm skipping kelp till level 15. We're skipping wall plant almost entirely. I might do a little bit of combat with it, but very minimal. Shark Jaw we're completely skipping until Bone Zone at the end at 47. Periwinkle is trolling if you even take his more than one. Maybe we'll grab 2 just to make the number even rather than an odd number. And then we actually get to do a real thing again. Shell. What is that shell? It looks so much weirder than the other ones. I know it's darkened, but it almost looks like a black shell. The helmet shell. Almost looks like a dwarven helmet or something. But yeah, we'll keep doing this until we get a knowledge point. We'll go check our venture and then go head to the passive then. And go grab dinner. And all off stream, we'll be actively AFKing pondweed. If that makes any sense. You know what I mean though. Like we're not doing a passive, but we're going to be AFKing the pondweed in a sense. Because I normally don't do this pre-movement if I'm just AFKing it. I just stand right there and just wait till they respawn and click them all. I'm just doing it this way so we can get a little bit quicker to the destination. We also want to click this one first, otherwise we waste a tile here. Just walking on that tile is not needed. But it would happen if we queued this one first. There's one weird caveat with the doubling here. Because doubling doesn't actually give you anything extra, it just makes your set quicker. It's one of the few weird skilling methods. Well, I guess there's quite a few, a handful of them. It's any of them that you have to keep doing 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 4, like 4 times over. They're a little bit awkward because the doubling doesn't actually get you, like, more resources. It just gets you to the bank quicker. Whereas on most other routes, like Wide Forager, you're actually getting more of the resource. But when doing something like this, you are not getting more of the resource. You're just banking quicker. Which is obviously still quicker. But your ratio of pondweed is still going to be 24 every time. It's not like it becomes 25 or something. Like where other sets, if you were to grab 8 of it, but you doubled one and it becomes 9, then you got more of that resource for your set. Because you grab 9 of those while grabbing a bunch of other stuff. But for any node that's like a 6 node, or, you know, any node that you're just spamming 1, the only thing the tool does is make your banking trip quicker. It does not actually give you more, technically. Like, obviously it is giving you more per hour. But you're not getting more per trip. The trip is just quicker. But the ratio of how many you're getting is still 24 out of 24. Like, that doesn't change. Whereas it does with other skills when you're grabbing multiple things at once. What's the goal? The goal right now is basically just to wait for a lobster venture. But as far as macro goal, monument. We're going all the way to monument grind. Till that monument says we have 1 venture slot, and even then I'm probably just going to max it, even if it does do it beforehand. Because we're already going to be so close that, you know, we're just going all the way. That way we can start not playing the game again, no. But we'll be doing a lot more passive again once we do get that unlocked. Until they do another major piece of content. Obviously we came back for about a month for milestones. And we'll still be doing all the Monday stuff as we always do. But I'm going on a 3-month trip soon, starting in May, late May. But aside from that, you know, we'll still cover the Monday stuff whenever they happen and everything like that. But as far as, like, daily streams, we're probably not doing that again, honestly, until Dungeons. Dungeons, bosses, or them reworking combat for the second time. Which hopefully adds special attacks or skill tree or bosses or anything to make combat not horrible. What did he say? I didn't see his thing in there. Let's see. Bit of a noob. It is nice to see all the newer players in the game, though, I do have to say. I've been seeing a lot of newer players. Which feels weird, because I don't feel like Milestones would have really attracted anyone new, but I don't know, still new people coming around. Also, I did this in the wrong order. I should have done the other way around, like the other laps. Doesn't waste that much time, though. But we gotta backtrack like 4 tiles. Through water, which is even slower. At this point, we'll do this for 1 or 2 more inventories, whatever gets us our venture point. Or our passive. And then by then, that should pretty much perfectly align us with Lobster. But yeah, at this point, if I had to guess, I think it's going to take us about 2.5 more weeks to max Forager. Like 2.5, 3, depends where it falls. There will be 4 days that we're doing Slay the Spire 2 when it comes out, though. But it's also going to be a really good level range to do our passives, as we'll be at a perfect level range to get these 2 passives done, which is really solid. We have 1,360% passive bonus, which is crazy. We'll see how that works with the XP curve, but the anemone and sprays are really, really good. They're the XP pots for this chapter. And the anemone also has tool bonus, so you get to double dip the bonus as well, which is nice. So not only is it for a good potion, but it's also for 10% bonus XP from the tool. So it should work out really, really nicely. Alright, will this lamp give us enough knowledge? I feel like the answer is no. It's gonna troll us by being like 1 or 2% short somehow. Because I'm pretty sure I'm getting less than 1% per kelp. Because otherwise I would have to get like 1 knowledge per each of these. Yeah, we already didn't right there. We're gonna be like 2% short. That is so unfortunate. I could always just touch something on the beach, like a couple kelp or something. Better drop a couple pond weeds and like pick the goat horn or something. I don't know, we'll see. All I know is we're not going to have a full knowledge meter by the time this inventory fills. I might just grab stuff on the beach. Because that should take exactly the 1 minute we need. I could also drop some pondweed now so we can grab all 6. It feels weird to do, but I can drop 1 pondweed right now, then grab 6 pondweed. I don't think I can drop 2 though. That cooldown's not going to be off in time. So we'll grab every pondweed here. It's still going to be a little bit short. But then after we do that, we'll go and grab like a kelp or 2 from the beach, and that should push it over then. Sad part is even that double kelp might not save us now. I have to grab some shells too. So I deliberately want to double on the final one here, so the other one goes to the ground, but I still get the XP for it. And then we'll go bank this and just touch some stuff on the beach real quick. And then we'll get there almost at perfect timing. Not quite perfect, though. The other alternative is I just come back for 6 pondweed. Which honestly, I might just do that. Because I don't think double kelp... If double kelp would do it, I would, but I don't think double kelp gets me there. 6 pondweed 100% does. So I'm just going to use an 11% right here, so by the time we get to lobster, we, you know, got the 11% good to go. This also allows me to pick up the pondweed I had previously dropped here. I think that's too big a deal, but hey, I got every single one we can get. Any single pondweed we can get to improve this. Every little bit matters. There we go. Actually, should have queued that the other way around. I still can. Because that's going to auto-move me. This is something you normally aren't ever able to do. Because generally you're not going to have a random pondweed just sitting there. But I can actually use it to align me to the correct tile without needing the manual click. I can actually queue the correct tile now. As that will move me automatically to my correct tile, and then I just take that. Now, normally it doesn't happen over the normal gameplay, but because we dropped one there, we actually could. I guess you could technically drop one there every set if you really want to. I feel like that would be more annoying than beneficial, though. There it is. Oh, I can even get the first time bonus on it, potentially. That might be too slow to try to get that in. I'll try, though. I almost forgot about that. It's not that big a deal if we don't get it, though. But we might be able to make it in time. So obviously we'll reset our lobster here. Not a level, but absurd amount of fishing XP will be gained. And of course we did upgrade these to 10% as well, so we are getting that 10% extra XP, which is really nice. 1.2 million, pretty much. And the oysters were only giving 1 million, so great upgrade. And we're good to go. Alright, let's see if we can make it in time. I highly doubt we will. I'm not doing it for tonight, so we could easily do it with some stuff in our inventory. It's fine. Oh yeah, we're definitely not making it. I'm just gonna grab some kelp and stuff on our way there, I guess. Give me those kelps. You'll be upgraded soon. Give us 5 more levels, you'll be upgraded. Alright, let's go ahead to the AFK activity. Which is right here. And we can queue it up. There it is, level 8. The amount of extra XP this gives is actually kind of insane. So last night and earlier, we were doing this one. Which is 356,000 with no tool. Let's even be generous and give it 357,000. We are now getting a absurd amount extra. Since we're at tier 8 now and everything. But also because it jumps every single tier regardless. But now, instead of that, we are getting 519,000. That's like a, what, a 30-something% increase? And we're getting 10% tool bonus, so it's even higher than that. It's almost like 40%. It is insane how much of a jump it is. I'm not sure if we're jumping as much on next tier. Yeah, we'd be jumping even more on next tier. As far as, like, the disparity between it. But yeah, that is a mega jump right there. But yeah, passives are nice. Unfortunately, this resource that we're getting is completely dead content. But, the XP sure isn't. But we do want to get to Feather by tomorrow for sure, though, because we want to actually get something good. This doesn't have tool bonus, so it's about the same XP, if not even slightly worse. Yeah, it's actually slightly worse XP. But the material we get from it's really good. And then this is finally when you start to get better XP. Is at the Moth Wing there. And then before we do Slay Aspire, we got to get to at least an Anemone. As it says 10% tool and is even better than those as well. Of course. Oh no, actually it is a little bit lower, but 10% bonus off tool kind of makes up for it. And then spray should be the one that's actually higher than... Okay, that makes sense. Alright, there we go. Anyways, guys, we'll end it there for now. We will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's what? Sunday, right? Yeah. So tomorrow we'll be back around noon. Main goal of tomorrow is, I think, to try to get level 10. I would need to do enough off-stream that that's actually possible, but yeah, I think we push for level 10 tomorrow. Off of just Bell Plant. That's the only problem with that. Bell Plant and Pondweed. We're going to try to hit like 2,000 of both or something, I'm not sure. Or we're going to hit some kind of big number for both. Maybe 1,500 is a little bit more realistic, but we'll see how much time I have to grind off-stream today into tomorrow. But some amount over 1,000 of both is what we want to end at tomorrow. Bare minimum, 1,000 Pondweed and 1,000 Bell Plant total in our bank. Between now and then. I also got to go make some more 11% off stream later too for that. Otherwise I gotta do it on stream later. So I'll try to do that off stream as well. But main goal for tomorrow is between everything I do between now and the end of next stream, we get bare minimum 1,000 Bell Plant and 1,000 Pondweed. That is the goal for tomorrow. We did not end stream tomorrow without 1,000 of both. And we'll go from there. Anyways, guys, hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Catch you guys later. Stay safe out there, and see you guys soon. Goodbye, everyone, and thanks for watching.